Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very unique Answer the Call, sponsored by Monster Tech. So, Monster Tech sent me out one of their new chairs, but this one's special. You may have seen the chair, the Monster Tech chair, on Nubifier's YouTube videos or Morphologist's YouTube videos, but I live in Florida where it's very muggy and hot, and a leather chair would not do me very well. It would be pretty rough. They have a prototype, I believe this is a prototype still, of a cloth version. And I think I'm one of the few people, if not the only one, that has the cloth version. This has been sitting here waiting for 3 weeks to be unboxed in this house because my room was kind of messy, and I had some IRL things that kind of got in the way of previous unboxings. And I thought what would be really cool is to do an Answer the Call while doing the unboxing or the actual creation of the chair, and just kind of talk about Star Citizen with the Star Citizen community. So today's topic is the state of Star Citizen. Earlier in the stream, we looked at the progress that Star Citizen has made in the last year, basically since 3.9, because we're currently kind of in that time frame. 3.9 released at the end of April, and we really haven't moved away from that patch yet, basically, because the next patch would have come out at the end of June, and that actually ended up releasing August 5th, I think, was 3.10. So yeah, it's very, very weird situation. So 3.9, four quarters, 3.13, we're in 3.13. Now, we look back, and there's quite a few things that did change the way we play Star Citizen, but none of them were too crazy. Think about refineries, prisons came in. There were some UI changes to our HUDs on the way we did combat, things like that. And there were a lot of small changes that changed the way we may play the game in the future, but not the way we play it right now. So, without further ado, I think we'll start doing the unboxing and bring in the first caller. But what our topic is going to be is the state of the game, and I would like every caller to try and speak about one thing they like about Star Citizen at the very least, and one thing they don't like about Star Citizen. I also have a little bit of background music, so if that bothers you, I apologize, but I want to have some background music to deal with the echo because I'm a little bit farther away from the microphone than I would normally be. So without further ado, I have some moderators, Broken and Dr. Interfratisius, that are helping us out, bring callers in and out. If you guys can bring in the first caller, that would be great. I think we do have Stunt Ass with us here. Stunt, can you hear me?
Hey, yeah. Hi, Mike. How's it
Hey,
going?
what's up? So,
Yeah.
well, I guess we'll start out right away. What, in your mind, is the state? How would you describe the state of Star Citizen right now?
Well, not too interesting. It's kind of like I usually play Star Citizen with a group of friends, and usually it's like, okay, new patch, we'll give it a weekend, and we'll see you next month.
Yeah.
Or next patch, rather.
So you're kind of every patch I come and check it out, but I don't really play it too regularly. Okay.
I don't play regularly. There used to be a time, I'm not sure, let's say 3.12 maybe, then where we were playing regularly. Like, I think the mole came out. We had one of our guys was really into mining, so we usually grouped up with his mole and did a lot of mining and stuff like that. But performance of the game, be it crashes or generally wipes at the time, kind of discouraged us from playing much. So it's usually like at the beginning of the patch, maybe like a week or so, and now it tapers down to like literally we come on for the events, and that's kind of it.
Yeah. I'm just really excited he gave me gummy bears. So Olson from Monster Tech put gummy bears in the box. I love gummy bears.
Yeah.
Gummies. Yeah. So I think that's the state of the game for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Is that they just come and check it out and then kind of move on. And I think the mole was something that was pretty cool, where it it did bring a unique aspect to the game and some multi-crew aspects, but I also think you kind of had to fake it and pretend to make it really work.
Yeah.
Right? Because the mole
Yeah,
wasn't really part of any meta of any kind that I'm aware of. That if I was trying to min-max or play Star Citizen in the most min-maxy way, I don't think I would be using the mole, basically.
Yeah, and especially at the time, there was no money trading, so essentially we just did it for fun. There was no money to be gained for the gunners, so to speak. So we just, did it for the fun of mining.
Okay.
But yeah, something I kind of wanted to talk about, if I can squeeze this in, is something actually that's been, I assume, not changed much since the beginning of the game, and that's a flight model. It's a basic thing that touches everything in Star Citizen. And an issue I have with it's like, if let's say you have we compare it to other games from arcade to simulator types of games. Like on the arcade spectrum, you have something like the Battlefield series, where the flight model is very, very basic.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have on the far end, you would have something like DCS or Microsoft Flight Sim, where you have a lot of variables that touch the flight model in the sense of altitude, potential energy, kinetic energy you build up with your aircraft itself. At Star Citizen, in my opinion, falls into this arcade spectrum of Battlefield games. I mean, it's not full-on super arcadey, but it's still...
Yeah, I think it's somewhere in between, probably, right?
Yeah, I mean,
but more on the arcadey side?
Yeah, for my benchmark for a good in-between where I personally like Star Citizen to go is War Thunder.
Okay.
War Thunder, for those who are not aware of War Thunder, free-to-play game which has a focus on World War II, armored vehicles. You can drive tanks, fly airplanes, and even ships now. And what it does very well, in my opinion, is you have hundreds of vehicles, and they have a unique feel to them. There is no, how should I say, one god plane that's the best at everything. You have planes which are good at turn fighting, you have planes that are good at boom and zooming, and yes, that brings me already to the point that there is no one way to fight in a plane. There is this Hollywood bubble of, oh look, I'm in a plane, I must turn fight. No, that's World War One, and it's a whole other topic that bugs me a lot about Star Citizen. It's like, oh, we're like World War II, we need to turn fight. No, please don't. You're helping that zero.
You know what's kind of interesting that you bring up is the boom and zoom thing. There's ships that are supposed to be boom and zoomers in Star Citizen, but because of the flight model, it doesn't really do that.
Yeah, it does not work. Because an example, I've actually been playing Battlefield 5 for the last couple of days with a couple of friends, and we were also flying, and an issue we would run into, which was kind of frustrating, is the Battlefield meta of flying planes is there is this one specific speed at which you turn the best, you maintain and hold the speed, circled up in a circle as long as possible until you see the other guy and shoot him down.
Mm-hmm.
And there is not much team fighting, because that's a core thing, I'd say, not just relevant to War Thunder, but a lot of flight games in the World War II era is it's not a 1v1. You team fight. You need to bait for your teammates. You need to clear someone else's 6. It's not just one-man army, okay, unless you're a Zero that outturns everything but gets outrun by everyone. And that's a little bit of an exception. That's why a Zero is so fun to fly. You don't rely on your teammates. You just hope for brain-dead enemies that
is that a ship that's
turn fighting.
Is that a plane that's in the game? The Zero that you mentioned? Is that the...
Yes, it's in a game. It's a plane you've seen War Thunder. It's quite an infamous plane from a Japanese plane from World War II.
Ah, okay. So it's based in a reality, a real ship, or
yeah, it's War Thunder's vehicles are all based off of real planes and vehicles, and have it claims at least an emphasis on historical accuracy. So Zero's, if I would quickly break down its main strengths is as I mentioned, it's exceptionally well turn fighter. It's for its category, it's actually rather slow. So usually when you fly a zero, you want to force people to turn fight you, but you're kind of screwed when people start to run away from you because you're actually very slow in a straight line.
Okay.
You're actually pretty good in a dive, but as soon as you, let's say, dive on someone, he pulls away and you need to regain altitude, you lose a lot of speed, and that's like the biggest issue of a zero.
And we
So,
just don't have that complexity in Star Citizen.
yeah.
Even.
I mean, granted, Star Citizen has the kind of problem of being a space game in that sense, because if I break down a flight model, there's like two, let's say two tanks of water or two batteries. One is, as I mentioned, potential energy, which is energy you gain from altitude, and you can convert altitude into speed or as you dive. And then you have kinetic energy in the sense of the speed that your plane generates. And what makes a flight model unique is what, let's say, conversion rates you have between those two energy states. As I mentioned, zero is quite decent in a dive and can generate a lot of speed at it, but when you want to take your speed and convert it into altitude, it suffers a lot. So that's like an inefficient conversion, whilst something like P-51 Mustang, famous American plane out of the World War II, is very good at converting speed into altitude, as a high speed into altitude. So knowing these efficiencies and inefficiencies of your and the enemy's plane is what makes a pilot a good pilot. Knowing how to abuse weaknesses of someone else's plane and not, I can turn faster and shoot more pew-pew.
Yeah. Okay.
It's kind of what lacks in Star Citizen, because correct me if I'm wrong. As I mentioned, I'm not too knowledgeable about Star Citizen's fighter meta, but it's, in my opinion, it's just put shields to the front, have a higher DPS output, and circle strafe, kind of like Battlefield Bad Company 2's helicopter days, where it's just circle strafe everything, avoid damage, and essentially, well, I heard the term pip scuffing in Star Citizen.
That's
essentially
not
making people miss.
Yeah, it's. I think that's an
I've heard
overused
it's
term.
a thing, apparently. Yeah.
I think it's an overused term, but when you say make people miss, that is accurate. Like I did some PvP training with Moist Noodle and Vegan Spaceman and some other people, like Virgil too, and a lot of the emphasis was on not getting hit rather than outmaneuvering your opponent, right?
Yeah, because obviously in War Thunder there is no shield, so it's like I only need a second on target and you're dead if I hit with decent guns.
Yeah.
So you only need that one essential crit, and then someone's out of the game essentially.
Okay.
So yeah. It's kind of a hard thing for Star Citizen. You can't go for that kind of thing because you have shields. You can't kill anyone fast enough. Which brings me to the point. What I think could help is,
well, you also don't want to die fast.
Yeah.
Either, right?
And my issue with Star Citizen also is that there is no penalty for speed. As I mean, people know it. Oh, people are running away from pirates, and there's like nothing you can do about it. It is like flight models is not just how it is in Star Citizen, where you have your good maneuverability at low speeds, and the faster you go, your turn rate turns to shit. Yeah. As you go above SCM speed. There is another example, World War II planes, is a British Spitfire, known to be a very good turn fighter, but something people would tend to forget is as soon as it gets at a higher speed, its roll rate, which is actually quite decent, turns to non-existent because of the compression over the wings at higher speeds.
Ah, okay.
Which is a factor you can abuse. Like if German plane, Focke-Wulf 190, has a very good roll rate, so what usually happens at lower speeds, Focke-Wulf is quite useless in a turn fight. It cannot turn. But if it gets to force the Spitfire at high speeds, it just outrolls it and outturns it suddenly, which is like, you wouldn't expect a energy fighter, boom and zoom aircraft to outturn a Spitfire out of nowhere now at high speeds. So it's like very speed dependent, the energy state. So I think what Star Citizen could really use is if if you're at higher speeds, let's say certain spaceships perform differently compared to others. Like an arrow's gonna be the king of low speed turn fighting, but
Yeah,
let's
like
say,
atmospheric, basically.
Yeah.
A good atmospheric fighter.
yeah, but you have to find a way to bring that to space as well, because space, no atmosphere, there is no it doesn't really work so well. But
And that's what you
there's,
mean
like,
by the problem with Star Citizen is that, part of the problem is that it's a space game, right?
yeah, it kind of needs to find a tool or a way. I mean, capacitors question mark, but I doubt really. I have a bit of a hate boner for capacitors because it's a bit of a gimmick, and I don't see it really helping much at this state of
Okay,
of the
I
game.
think
But
it helps for some things. I don't think it
yeah,
helps for anything that you mentioned.
yeah, I think what
Right?
I
Like turn rates
capacitors.
and stuff. Like, I don't think it's gonna
Yeah.
really...
The thing for capacitors, I see it's kind of like spices for food. It adds something, but if your dish is a piece of bread, adding salt and pepper is not going to change much. Like, you need to have a good baseline before you add spices.
Okay.
Yeah, but what was I about to say? Yeah, exactly. The thing about high speed is there needs to be a trade-off. And I think the easiest thing that you could pull off as a trade-off is you need to trade off survivability. If you go fast, you need to make shields weaker, in a sense. Like, let's say you need to maintain a high speed, you need to put your energy from your shields, or let's say the shields use more energy at high speeds. So you can go slow and be tanky for whatever kind of ship class you're in, be as tanky as it's possible. Or if you're going for a boom and zoom strategy, you're fast, but you trade a lot of your shield strength for that speed, so when you get hit, you're going to get hit hard, or have a high chance of losing your shield,
I mean,
which
I
could
think they're
emphasize
kind
a bit
of
of missile
going...
gameplay.
I think they're kind of going in that direction with capacitors a little bit. Like, if you get hit, you have to make the choice of running or regenning.
Yeah.
So in some sense, they're kind of going for that a little bit.
Yeah, because I think
But
also
they're not organically... Like, if you start boosting your shields or boosting your engines and going faster, I don't see them organically going from 96% shield down to 66% shield because you decided to go above SCM.
yeah, no, and that's
Is that what you're looking for? Is that what you're mentioning? I want to make sure we're on the same page.
kind of like, how should I say, your shields become a lot fragile. Let's say you need, for 100 shield, you need 100 energy to maintain that shield. But the faster you go, let's say there's, for example, you have like space dust or whatever that damages your shield when you go through it fast enough. So let's say you increase speed above STM.
That's your in-lore fake reasoning behind it, which they'll need, obviously.
Yeah, just some BS reason, whatever. It's still a game. You need to bring mechanics in one way.
Exactly.
But the idea is kind of the faster you go, the more expensive it is to run your shield. Let's say you're twice as fast now, and now your shield at the front doesn't use 1 energy for your shield, it uses now 2 energy for 1 shield. So your risk of running out of spare energy in your ship, if you want to maintain your shield at the front, or wherever the shield is being, let's say, has a higher cost increase due to its movement. You could also have it movement dependent. If you're pointing your nose in one direction, it's only it has an increased cost on your front side, but as soon as you turn broadside, you're now increasing the surface area and you have a massive energy spike, which could, let's say, crash your shields if you're not careful.
Okay. I found another gummy bear. But I see what you're saying. Not to like completely derail with the gummy bears.
No, not just completely like shields gone now. Just to have a risk reward. If you want to go fast, you need to be aware of your shields that you don't pop them.
Yeah.
And this would, allow certain builds. Let's say if you're going for a high-speed boom and zoom playstyle, and you're having to be confronted with this shield mechanic I'm proposing, so to say, you need to have a lot of spare energy in your ship, so you can essentially run at a certain speed without having to worry about your shields. Let's say you can go double STM speed with the energy you have, and your shields won't be popped because you ran out of energy.
Okay. Now,
Because there's yeah.
I want to shift a little bit if we can.
Yeah,
We've
sure.
been talking about the flight model for a while, and more about the things that you don't like. In the state of Star Citizen, what do you like?
Well, things that I enjoy as well. Yeah, I had quite a lot of fun with mining, but the biggest problem, I mean, you heard it here, folks. Performance.
Yeah.
Invictus. I mean, I had actually with my friends, we went onto the PTU before Invictus. I think like a week or so before it, and we were running, or I at least was running 30 frames maybe, a bit more,
Okay.
a bit less, depending on where you were. And during Invictus, I was the first hour or so. I think I was around, I mean, European time zone, 10 in the evening, around 12, somewhere at that time. So kind of peak hours. I was crawling in Microtech at 5 frames and was dying, entering elevators, coming out of elevators. It was just not a good time. But like after peak hours, it just kind of decided to work, and then, well, we could have a look at Invictus. But during the PTU, it kind of worked, and it's during non-events where it's like bearable, but during events, the time where you actually want to go and have a look, it's just like not playable.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't anything you liked. You don't
Yeah.
like a lot.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I haven't played in a while. That's the problem. I mean, like properly played. You know, like going on to Invictus is not playing. It's just having a look, really.
Exactly.
But I like trading. I like multi-crew gameplay, of course, because I regularly only play with friends in that sense. I would be interested in combat, but as I mentioned, I'm not too happy of where it is with a flight model's perspective and how combat works in general. But this is like, call it a War Thunder bias. I have my perspective of how it could and should work.
Sure.
But there's definitely there's a lot of potential in Star Citizen, but that's nothing new really. It just kind of, I enjoy watching how it progresses. I mean, my enjoyment of Star Citizen at the moment, or the last couple of years, is watching your videos, and
thank you.
and and thinking about how the game should and could work. It's just, yeah.
I mean,
theory crafting about a game is almost the most fun about it, really.
Yeah, I'll use a quote I've probably used on the podcast before. This goes all the way back to, I think, 2013. In the Wingman's Hangar days, somebody on the live chat or something like that said the saddest thing about Star Citizen is going to be when it releases. Because then we can no longer talk about Star Citizen's development and where it's going. Now, we all know now that that's never going to happen. And it's never really going to quote-unquote release, and it's always going to be in development, and we're always going to be able to talk about it. But at some point, we're going to be doing a lot more playing it and talking about the metas or how-tos or whatever. But at this time, that's not really the case, right?
I find that kind of ironic because War Thunder's in a similar boat. It released in 2012. Granted, it was an asset flip from a game released in 2009, Wings of Prey, I think. And yeah, we're still in this boat of literally boat, because it promised in 2012, oh yeah, we're gonna have a game which has planes, tanks, and ships in one playable space, and we'll be fighting everything at the same time. Well, they managed to pull off tanks and planes and ships and planes, but we're essentially still playing with the same game mode released in 2012 of Capture the D Point. And yeah, but that War Thunder issues, we're not going to talk about that, but it's...
Well, I mean, they're the same issues
situation.
that Star Citizen has. Yeah, like, Star Citizen's not unique, is basically what you're saying. You know?
Yeah, so this is not the first time, and always have my worries about Star Citizen when I see like, oh, this is a problem and it's gonna get fixed, and I look at War Thunder and I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah, because it's true. It probably won't. The difference with Star Citizen and War Thunder is I don't think War Thunder has 700 employees and $350 million and a bunch of dummies like us that are willing to buy. I bought way too many skins at Invictus, right? So there's people that are still really, really supportive financially of the project. I don't know if War Thunder has that kind of backing. Where that's one of the few things we can kind of hold on to with Star Citizen is that even if there's something that we don't like, they still have the power to hopefully fix it, and they can't really cry lack of funds or lack of manpower, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be with you with the manpower. That's probably a thing. I have no idea. Someone actually in chat just wrote there's like 250 to 300 people apparently.
Okay.
But from a funding standpoint, it's a free-to-play game. It funds its game by, oh look, here's a new shiny premium tank plane ship, whatever, which is definitely not brokenly overpowered and is not going to ruin the matchmaker for the next patch or so. Here, take this.
Oh, just like Star Citizen. Weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's like
where the M2 is the best dogfighter,
Yeah, it's like let's give an aircraft maneuvering missiles that can the historical thing. It's what's the missile called? SRAM. It's a British missile that they tested in 60s or so. It's not like an engine and fins. It's like a lot of engines. It's like a thrust vectoring missile. There was tests for these missiles where it actually managed to hit the aircraft it was launched from.
Okay.
Yeah, let's give that missile to a plane and see what happens. Yeah, questionable ideas. But yeah, let's stick to Star Citizen.
Yeah, well, I mean, our call's been going on for about 20 or so minutes. So I think we'll probably move on to the next caller here, but real quick before we go, is there anything that you want to kind of say, I guess, before we let you go? Anything you want to add?
Just a quick recap, like things I like to see from Star Citizen in God knows when. A bit of a revamp of the flight model, put a bit more detail in it, and it probably needs a bit of a help with detection systems. But yeah, I could go on a whole other tangent about detection system. But yeah, flight model would probably be a nice thing because everyone benefits from it. It's not just the fighter pilots; it's be the traders as well.
Yeah,
have a bit more detail in it. But yeah, that's my closing point, I guess.
All right. Well,
yeah, but thanks for having me.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I guess we'll move on to the next caller. Who's our next caller, Broken?
Oh, hi.
Hello. Kalemorn.
How's it going?
Good.
Wow, you pronounced that correctly.
And I was looking at it from very far away. So, Kalemorn, how you doing, buddy?
Doing very well, sir. How are you?
Good. So the state of Star Citizen.
State of Star Citizen. Okay, so let's get the like and don't like out of the way. Things I like about Star Citizen is that there's a lot of variety, and I know some people are going to laugh at that, but there's a lot of variety of things to do right now. We can mine, we can do limited exploration of the different modes of planets. We can do combat and various, we got the FPS, the space combat, etc. Thing I don't like, anything that relies on stability. So mining, trading, anytime that we're potentially at risk from 30Ks. So that's that.
There are things you can do, sure. Are there reasons to do them? Not so much, but
it depends. I mean, some things you can get enjoyment from simply by doing it. The journey is the reward type thing.
Oh yes, of course. The journey.
But I wouldn't argue that that's the right answer for everybody. Obviously, some people want. I've got some friends who bought in a long time ago, and they refuse to play because they don't want to put in effort when everything's just going to be wiped again.
Yeah.
And that's a valid viewpoint.
I'm not one of those people because they haven't wiped in over a year.
Mhm.
But at the same time, the journey isn't enough
Mhm.
for me, you know?
Yeah, that's fair.
It really isn't. I don't know. I bought the game to play a game, and I would like more than just the journey, I guess.
Yeah. Well, the main point that I would like to make, and it's again not going to be true for everybody, but it's another way to look at the game. Setting aside the fact that we have been sold an image of the future, and we're told that this is what it's going to look like later on when development is finished, I think it's important to recognize the reality of the situation that we're not playing the alpha, we're playing the actual game itself. Alpha testing and beta testing is a real full-time job, and people who do that generally don't have lots of fun. They have to write reports for bugs, they have to test very specific features. What we have is a very strange new kind of game model, which is maybe a little bit more akin to the old MMOs that go through continuous development over decades. This is the game, and that's just the way it is. I think it's worth enjoying it for what it is without getting hung up on the promises that have been made and the image of the future, I guess.
But what about the people who bought in for the images of the future? Were they wrong? Like I do find a lot of I do find a lot of people tend to preach on, and I get that vibe from you a little bit. Not really, but just a little bit. Like it is what it is. This is an alpha, and I'm preaching to you that you shouldn't feel this way because that's not the right way to look at it, because this is the game and you should enjoy it because I enjoy it.
I wouldn't say that you shouldn't feel this way. What I would say is that there's another way to look at it.
Okay.
We can look at it as an incomplete project that's never going to get finished and get pissed off about that, and that's a perfectly valid viewpoint. We've been sold the finished product.
Yes.
But if we look at the reality of the situation, it's also a perfectly valid viewpoint, and I think a little bit more beneficial for me, at least, and maybe for others, to look at it as this is the experience. You know, Star Citizen isn't the end game for me. For me, Star Citizen is the Kickstarter and the 5 times I've tried playing and quit playing, and then come back a year later and tried playing and quit playing, and then finally 3.8 came around, and I said, gosh, this is in a state where I can actually do stuff.
Okay.
It is a living, growing thing.
Yeah.
I suppose if we wanted to get stupid, we could say it's a growing baby. You don't throw out the baby because he's not a full adult yet. Yeah.
Yeah. I just think.
And I agree, it's not the right way to look at it for everybody.
Yeah.
There's definitely reason to be pissed off because the project has taken over 10 years.
Do you ever get pissed off?
A bit.
About what?
A bit. Mostly at 30Ks.
Yeah.
But the stability is the biggest issue for me, but...
I really wonder, like, honestly, I really wonder that when we have more persistence and hopefully 30Ks have a little bit less of a... cause a little bit less pain, that I wonder what the experience will be like. Like, yeah, a crash is going to be a little bit of a time-consuming painful experience. But will it be as like I mean, it's horrible in that, right? It's actually a horrible experience to go through.
Yeah. And that's the whole reason that I don't do trading or mining right now, is because I don't want to invest an hour or a half hour, or in the case of trading, maybe 8 hours worth of work to all of a sudden get a 30K, and now I'm back to broke because I was a retard and invested everything I had in my cargo. Which is a different issue. But I think when the 30Ks are no longer an issue, when we do have the full iCache persistence, I think it's going to make a lot of things more viable and more entertaining, more rewarding. But back to my point, I try not to get hung up, bless you, on the fact that we are so far away from the end state, because I know that'll piss me off.
Okay.
I try to look at it as a good experience in itself, and it's like I'm sorry, the ass guy.
Stunt ass.
Pointed up, stunt ass, yes. As
Stunt
he said,
ass.
a lot of the enjoyment is the development process and seeing the next thing that gets brought in.
Yeah. It can be. And I think where people's frustrations lie, and I think for me, the state of the game in regards to that statement that you just made is in a worse place than it's ever been. Because there hasn't been that next thing that you're really, really excited to dive and sink your teeth into in quite some time. So I'll ask you this, because I mean, again, we went through the roadmap, and there was a couple things like refineries. Man, I was super excited, and then it turned out that it wasn't as exciting because of issues with trading and things like that. And again, I've said this many times.
Cargo decks were also very disappointing. That was basically a non-feature.
Well, yeah, cargo decks came in, but they never iterated on cargo, right? And we're seeing...
Yeah, there's nothing to do with them.
Yeah, there is nothing to do, because there won't be until there's other, that persistence and physical inventories and all these things, right? But what are you looking forward to? Since that's the next thing, that's what you do enjoy. That's part of the project that you like. What's something you're looking forward to, or that you've sunk your teeth into in the last year that was worth it and made the project worth it?
Yeah, let me answer both of those. So the recent feature release that I'm excited about is the ship-to-station docking and the ship-to-ship docking in the form of the Archie and the Merlin and the Connie. That's something that I've been looking forward to for as long as I've been playing the game.
Okay.
And I have an unreasonable love for the Archimedes and the Merlin.
Okay.
And it is so much so that I always, anytime a new ship comes out, I have to find out how many Merlins I can cram into it. So that's something that I really am glad got put into the game, because now the new shield tech for the Constellation, because now the Constellation is absolutely a viable ship for combat. I do a lot of bounty hunting, and now because it no longer has the shield holes, it's an excellent bounty hunting ship.
Do you bounty hunt players or just the NPCs?
Not players. I get my ass kicked too hard. Just the NPCs.
Okay.
But the features that are coming up, I think that I'm really looking forward to are, first of all, the Redeemer in the short term, and then the Perseus in the long term, because I think right now we don't have a lot of large ship gameplay. We've got running around with your buddies in the Carrack, and we've got, potentially go take out some claim jumpers in the Hammerhead. But we don't have a lot of big ship on big ship combat. We don't have a lot of small ship on big ship combat. The Arlington Gang mission thread is a mess and broken right now because of Eckert's non-availability.
Can I
But,
stop you there for a second?
yeah.
Are ships features?
Good question.
You said to me the next
I'd
feature that's coming
say
in that's
yeah.
exciting, and then you mentioned a ship.
I would say yeah, because if you look at it, how many ships do we have in game currently? 25, 50, somewhere in that ballpark?
Okay, yeah.
Something like that?
A lot more than that. There's 100 ships.
Already implemented?
Yeah.
Okay, well. One of the biggest things that we look forward to, and the things that we get sold, we aren't sold features in the traditional sense. We're sold new game or new ships. Mantis, yes, Mantis was definitely a feature that never actually turned out to be worth much. But
Space Cutler would disagree, but okay.
Okay. I mean, it's been non-workable for so damn long.
From a PvE standpoint, it has no purpose.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the day that the interdiction does actually work well, and if it already does, then I need to go back and revisit it. But each one of these new specialized ships adds something. When we get the Nautilus, that's going to add mines and what other bomb gameplay and all that other stuff. The
C2.
Retaliator.
C2, the inventory, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and the Retaliator gets its bombs in the next couple of patches. I think they're working on the space bombs and hopefully planetary bombs. That's going to add stuff. The Redeemer. I'm not sure how much gameplay that's going to have, but it's certainly going to be very impactful on the meta and have a large effect on how we engage large targets.
Okay. So
I would argue that the ships are features, sort of. I'd certainly look at them.
They definitely do come online with features, so I can't disagree with that. I cannot argue against that. A lot of them do.
But I think that's mostly what I'm looking forward to.
Okay. What don't you like about Star Citizen?
So, like I said, the trading is a complete mess right now. I'd love to be able to trade. I like the idea of space trucking. Back in the day when I played EVE Online, I enjoyed doing the mercantile and manufacturing gameplay loops. We don't really have that right now because we don't have a dynamic economy. The economy that we do have has ridiculous restrictions on how many units you can buy and how many units you can sell. And one of my classic complaints to my friends has been, I wish that I could just order a Caterpillar full of Laranite and have the location send me an email when it's ready to be picked up. And then I go fly and pick it up, and then I go sell it at Hurston or wherever. And we just don't have that. We have, go hunt and peck and scavenge stuff in your giant freighter, which is ridiculous, and then go try and sell it here, and then try and sell it there, and try and sell it there. And of course, this makes it a very high-risk activity because of the 30Ks.
Sure.
So,
do you think they talk about priorities a lot, right? And the things that you're upset about, I think sometimes the things that you like the new ship coming in with the one little new feature, tends to be the thing that takes the priority over giving the mission team the resources or the time needed to be able to create a mission for you like that.
I think that's a very,
'Cause they
very
can't.
important point to make is where's the balance between bug fixing and adding content to existing features versus doing development of new features and future features that we may not see for another 3 years.
Exactly.
And so,
And
what's
when
the
I get
balance point
called
between
like a
those?
when I often get called like a salty person or an angry person,
Mm-hmm.
usually it's in relation to comments like I just made, where I really
Yeah.
feel that one of the things that really suffers for people is that the prioritization uh, of the tools needed to make the game more interesting while we wait for it to be played. And I think you and I, while sounding very, very different in tone and feelings about the project, are exactly the same. I agree with you 100% that this is the project, is the experiencing it as it's being built and growing, and this is it. It's an alpha, right? That's part of what
Yeah.
this is. The thing that upsets me about the prioritization of things is that I do feel like the experience in a lot of situations could be made fun with a little bit of time and effort put into certain aspects of the experience to make it a little bit more fun and a little bit more interesting and a little bit more dynamic. For me,
A little bit
at
more
this,
stable.
yeah, well, stable. Honestly, stability. I think that they're constantly working on, and I think that that's something that it kind of is what it is, and it will eventually get better. And I don't necessarily believe that complaining about the stability of the game has any. I don't think it's going to get you anywhere. I think they know the stability isn't good, and I think they would like it to be. And like PvPers complaining about desync, right? I think we all know that
Yeah.
the desync's a problem, and I think they know it too. It just comes down to, are they prioritizing it or not? That's the one thing we may not truly know the answer to, right?
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing that it really does get on my nerves a lot is the roadmap. And I know that's a common complaint for everybody who has ever looked at it and had the crushing realization as every feature that they were looking forward to gets deleted.
Yeah.
But that constant. I mean, you look at the roadmap and we see, wow, look at all these features. Okay, which one is actually going to be there delivered for that patch? I think it's going to be new skins. Everything else is going to get pushed back or temporarily removed, whatever. And so, like I was saying, there is definitely a lot to be justifiably pissed off about in regards to the project.
Sure.
That said, there's also still a lot to enjoy, and I don't think you stream Star Citizen just because you get revenue from it. I think if you were pulling your hair out, pissed off all the time, you wouldn't do it. You'd find something else to do. I enjoy playing Star Citizen, not every day, but there's a huge community. We all find something in it that we like. And I think there's a benefit to taking kind of the Zen approach of the here and now, focusing on the here and now and where you are, as Yoda would chastise Luke for, instead of the future.
So
The future is great, but
I'm
it's pretty
always
good.
I'm always malding playing this game. Always.
Mhm.
I play the game because it's always gonna, like, no one's ever gonna believe this, okay? And they're just gonna cap me in chat. But the I play this on stream because I think my chat is better,
Mhm.
and I think it's more fun to stream. but the result also is that I make more revenue. So it's always going to seem like I do it for the money, but in reality, I do it because I would never enjoy streaming if we didn't have a fun chat experience.
It's good content.
Yeah.
Even when there is something that pisses us off, like a 5-second lag spike, and all of a sudden the arrow that you were about to destroy with your hammerhead has destroyed you.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, that's
hey,
good
listen,
content.
Calmore, I just looked at the queue. Wow.
Oh, big Q, yeah.
So, I just ate some gummy bears. Final thoughts for you, Calmore. Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Like, enjoy the ride, man.
Yeah. True. Actually true.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, brother. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. See you later, dude.
Hey, so yeah, I wanted to tell you there are lots of callers now, so maybe have them on for a shorter time.
Okay.
The next one's gonna be the doc, and he said he has some kind of announcement.
Okay. So, the doc or Dr. Introviticius, guys, is next on the line. Doc has been a regular caller here for a long time. And I think before we get into any Star Citizen talk, like Broken said, he has a special announcement for us. So, Doc, you have the floor.
Yes, I do. I'm not starting well, no, it's more of an employment thing. But yeah, I'm starting a new job soon.
You're starting a new job soon.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. Can you tell us anything about it, or?
It's just a social media job.
Social media job? Okay.
And yeah, the interview that advice that you had helped me a lot.
So, say that one more time.
That advice that you said to me
About
that helped.
So what I told Doc, so Doc had an interview coming up, and what I told him is that he comes on Answer the Call in front of 400 people all the time, and he doesn't get nervous, and he does just fine every time, and he should just look at his interview in the same way as he looked at this. And he said,
Yeah, and it worked.
and it worked. So there you go. That's pretty awesome. So I'm glad in some way, shape, or form everybody here could help you.
So, on to ST.
On to SC. Here we go. He's going to destroy it. I'm actually missing a piece.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't think it's the important piece, but I'm missing a piece.
Anyway, what do I like about SC? It's the ships.
Just the ships?
Yeah, the ships. It's like how you can interact with the ships.
In what way?
It's like the component access and stuff. It's like your shields and your power plants and stuff like that.
Well, I would argue you can't do that yet.
Well, not entirely, but it's like you can see them in some ships. And that's what I enjoy.
Okay. Now, what do you don't like? Because I know that's a long list.
There's just no content anymore.
I mean, was there ever content? Or was the content just waiting for the new content?
It was some all time, but after a week, it was like, okay, something else, please. And yeah, we haven't had anything else for half a year now. I would say.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know. It's just I don't have anything to like hog in for.
I feel the same way. I feel like at the moment I log in now to kind of just pass the time and hang out, but I don't feel. In the end, I mean, it's something I've been looking for a long time out of Star Citizen. It's just purpose, and I feel like we haven't had it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, it's just like there's no thing you can do that like has something behind it.
Yeah.
Like a sense of like I did this or like I earned this or something like that.
True. Uh-oh. I legitimately think I'm missing like a kind of crucial piece. We're gonna find out.
Oh no.
Yeah. Unless it's like under something that I don't see. I don't think so though, so I'm just gonna give it a go without it. You know when the thing where you go like up and down on the chair?
Yeah.
So I have the gas spring that's there, but there's the cover. I can't find the cover. So I don't think that's crucial.
No, I don't think that's too important.
So I'm just gonna go without the cover. I have the cover on my old chair. I can probably just take that off and use it, but here we go. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I think that's like in a broad sense of why you haven't been playing SC as much, right? It's just there's no purpose in the game and it's hard to find a reason to log in.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
Do you see the state of the game for you in that sense changing anytime soon?
I wouldn't say so. No, I don't think so.
And like that's something I'm really looking for in Star Citizen, and I don't really see that changing anytime soon either. All right, wish me luck. Hey. Oh, wow. Okay. It's comfy, dude.
Hey. Comfy chair.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, and the everything works. I don't need the cover. Awesome. Actually, sweet. Yeah, so I don't know, Doc. What would bring you back? I know, obviously, creating a purpose. What would creating a purpose look like? What would bring you back? For that, I'm going to celebrate with gummy bears, by the way.
Like having components behind like a rep say, or actually, if I like the Hurston stuff behind like Hurston rep.
Mm-hmm.
So like the stuff that Hurston does, I can't remember the thing now that they do. Fuck, I don't know what it is now.
Bounties?
But like anyway, I know the like ship stuff you can get for like Hurston. I can't remember what it is now. Maybe someone in chat can remember. It's a thing that Hurston makes for ships.
The attritions?
Yes, that's the one.
Oh, okay.
It's like you have those all hooked under like Hurston rep. It's like you have to have a certain almost to get those. I think that'd be quite cool.
Yeah. I guess that does create a purpose, right?
Yeah.
But then you do run into the problem where there's like they would have to provide some sort of an end game experience for those to be there. I guess your end game would be PvP.
Yeah. Yeah.
At that
It'd be
point?
interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Doc, I guess if there's anything else that you want to add, let me know.
No, not really.
No?
I will say our next caller is the Space Cutlet.
Is it stunt ass again? Oh, it's Space Cutlet.
No,
Okay.
it's Space Cutlet, extraordinaire streamer and overall excellent guy.
A lot of people would disagree with that, but that is a very, very good introduction.
So he's Space Cutlet.
Oh, thank you.
Yo,
What's up, dude?
not much. What's the topic? I
What-
randomly kicked in the stream and then I see you sitting on the sofa and assembling. I thought there were very big pedals, but then I realized, but then chat helped me out. It was
Yeah.
the chair upside down.
Yeah. It's the state of Star Citizen, but I'm asking you to please provide at least one thing you like and one thing you don't like. So it's not all negative and it's not all positive.
yeah.
We're
Like,
all here
honestly-
because we're somewhere in the middle or overwhelmingly on one side or the other. But I think we all have some positive and some negative that we feel about the game.
Yeah, that's the point. Like, I actually, you know what? I've seen agents on the queue, and I was like, whatever, privileged to go faster. I feel a bit bad about it, but
Okay.
I will leave like anything around piracy to him. That's what I'm gonna do. So, no piracy talk from me.
Okay.
Right? Maybe occasionally, but that's about it. So, do you want me to like say good and bad? Like what? How does this work today?
Just the state of Star Citizen. What in your mind is the state of Star Citizen? But then try to describe one thing you like and one thing you don't.
Yeah. So the state is obviously a tech demo. I'm sorry for like a very early alpha tech demo. So the good thing about Star Citizen for me, and that's the reason why no matter what troubles I go through and no matter what shit like I eat every day playing and streaming this game, the best thing about it is an imagined dream, right? It gives me personally hope that unless this project burned down like in flames, which will probably not happen because it's like, you know, it's like
still
US
so
dollar.
heavily
It's like,
supported. Yeah.
yeah, it's like too big to fail at some point, right? Of course, anything can happen, but like they're trying to achieve like something that no other game ever achieved, and especially in sense of MMOs, right?
Yeah.
When we're gonna get this is very questionable, right? But they're going for that game that a lot of people dream about, and that's the good part of this game. And you can see them like, I never will point out the time it takes to do the core tech like as a negative, because I think a lot of people don't. I'm playing like devil's advocate here right now, right? So,
But I think
don't
you
think,
believe
like,
in what you're saying.
yeah, I totally believe. Like, I
Yeah.
believe people don't realize how long it takes to create something like this.
Why
From the
don't we
ground up.
realize Space Cutlet?
What?
Why don't we realize it?
Yeah, because we are used to battlefields, dude. We're used for publishers and game developers reskinning, remodeling, adding a bit new shaders, and pumping out the next title. And then they tell
True.
you, when the game is almost ready, they like pitch you the game, few screenshots, a few videos.
And the one
And
new
that's
change
like-
they made.
Yeah, one new change they made, and the game was in development for like the past 5 or 7 years, and then they pitch you this video, and then they tell you just wait another year or two, and it's gonna be there, right?
I
And that's-
agree, but I also disagree. Here's why.
Oh,
I
yeah, go
think
ahead.
part of the reason why, and this will be very quick, is part of the reason why we don't know is because CIG has been horrible at communicating the timeline of things.
oh, totally, dude, totally, because
They make it seem easy.
They grown the budget so much, they had to change their plans as much as they've grown the budget, the funding.
Yeah.
And that's, no one is hiding. Like, I mean, I'm not denying this. There were a lot of under management over the years, and that goes to creating a freaking 600 team ground up from nothing, right? They didn't have a history of that team working together on like multiple projects or so. So no one is saying, like, I'm not advocating them. I'm not saying they're perfect, right?
No,
It
but
just like
this is the truth. There's no
Yeah,
denying this. It
totally.
does sound like copium, but it's the truth.
Yeah, totally. And that's what probably keeps me playing this game, right? And it's like once you get to this point of being like the first human on Mars,
Sorry.
you want to stay like ahead of the curve, and that's why you don't drop the project. You want to see what's new. You play it. Like for me, of course, it became a source of my main revenue, right? I'm not privileged to drop it right now unless I want to totally change, like, again, the way I live and what I do. But it's not the point. Like, I was playing this game even without being a streamer.
Yeah.
Like since the beginning, since the freaking like JPEG wars, since the hanger module. So yeah. And
The JPEG wars. Wow.
yeah, the JPEG wars. But when we didn't even have the hanger module, dude. When everyone was just waging war with the JPEGs on the website, right?
I'm sorry,
So,
that's
yeah.
hilarious.
And I mean the good, that's the good side of Star Citizen, I think. Like, because I can hardly find like good sides of Star Citizen, you know, like a gamer, gameplay wise, right? But it's like where the project goes overall
Yeah.
across the years. If we always, like, if you look back, right, and look at what we had and stop being sarcastic, you can feel the difference in everything. Like how the game changed, you can feel the difference.
A year ago?
The stability. No. Like, I mean, overall,
Over the
like,
years. Because that's my biggest problem. Is in the last year, I can't. For the first time, I can't. In the last 12 months,
Yeah.
this is the first time I cannot really see the difference. And if anything, it's gotten a little bit worse.
Yeah, like one of my oldest mates in game, Killjoy, Killjoy 12, he said a good thing, right? 2.6 as a PvP player, I was orbiting Olisar to get content. 3.13, I orbit Olisar to get PvP content. I mean, obviously, it's like exaggerating, but
But it's
that's the
not,
whole point, right?
you know?
Yeah, but it's
It
not.
is what it
But
is,
it's
huh?
not. So yeah, I mean, it's just this dream they sell is good. The hope that we will get that game is good. Slowly bits are coming up together, and like you can slowly start to get some gameplay. I mean, you have to suffer to get gameplay, like actual gameplay,
Yeah.
right? But you kind of can get those glimpses of once a week or, you know, once in a few days, right, of what it could be, right?
Yeah, like I don't think I mentioned it on the podcast today, but I definitely mentioned it on the stream. Is I had a moment the other day where I was rock mining for Space Cutlet, and we got jumped by another group.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And yeah, it created a situation where there was a battle in space. Then it got brought to the ground. I pulled out a railgun, blew up one of their ships, pulled out an FPS gun, killed one of their players, and it was like a crazy, interesting, and cool experience. And you don't get
The
that
guy
very
you blew up-
often. You know?
The guy you blew up with a railgun is in the queue, by the way.
Is he really? Awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, we can really talk about the state of the game then, because one of the reasons I killed their player is because of desync, right? So,
Oh yeah. That's like, dude. Yeah, that's the whole another story, and that's like goes to understanding of. Recently, remember I said I had a Star Citizen 2.0 experience,
yeah.
like on one of your streams,
Yep.
and that's where you have zero of those issues.
Yep.
Like we were running the server with 5 people on it,
Mhm.
right? And it was the different game. Everyone who experienced that was like, "Whoa, is
This
this
is what
like
it could
really
be."
Star Citizen?
Yeah.
Is this really Star Citizen? Like everything works. There is no desync. The interactions are instant with your inventory, with your equipment, everything. And that when you see that things,
That brings hope.
you understand that a lot of issues that we hate literally with our guts, and we just want to like throw the monitors out our windows and all that, they just come from one thing: the
Yep.
server performance,
Yep.
which will eventually be better, right?
Yeah, it may not
Which will
be
eventually be
completely resolved, but it will be better. It can't be worse. I mean, it can be worse, but it has
It
to
always
get
can
better.
be worse.
It has to get
Yeah.
better. Because if it doesn't get better,
I mean,
the
nothing
game-
else matters if it doesn't get better. And
Exactly.
it will burn in flames, right? So,
Yeah.
but hopefully. Right, and we can like go and talk about all the Imagine thing, like server meshing and iCache and all that. That will help with it definitely, because that's what it's gonna do. Basically, the servers won't calculate the entire stanton. Like when you go to Daymar, there will be Daymar, and like people in Daymar, and that's it. No, like hundreds of NPCs being calculated by a single server. So, I mean, but that's like I don't want to even get into those talk.
No.
What I don't like about Star Citizen, as a player, like literally as a player, also as a content creator, obviously, is the priorities.
yeah.
And it's very hard to judge and be like really open-minded with that, because you will always judge it as a player. You will be always biased to this part as a player. And because the way they developed it over the years, they keep constantly saying about the tools they created to easily
Make content.
even more easily make content or
Yeah.
make balance, right? And you see that never happening. Like they barely managed to fix like super broken things, like, oh, they fixed a Buccaneer, that was broken for 2 years, and it probably took like few values to fix it, just the overheating. And now, like, what will we wait for another 2 years so Mantis doesn't overheat like flying just forward, right? So these are the things that really frustrate me. Like, again, I don't want to get into the piracy territory. Agents is there, he will talk about it, but overall, just a very quick thing, like the boxes, it's my gameplay, right?
Yeah.
The self-destructs and an ability to like breach stuff, like all that shit. Like dissing, I understand where the dissing comes from, and it's just a weight game for again, for server performance, right? I'm more talking about overall the things they could do to increase the client player / client / investor satisfaction pretty easily, but they don't care. And they don't care because they have a plan. And in their plan, they see, oh, that's going to get reworked in like half a year.
Yeah.
Why would we spend an hour or like 5 hours right now fixing those values if it's going to get reworked in half a year?
Exactly.
And I think that's where the big disconnection goes between them and the actual active gaming community that is not just there like logging in for like a day, right, in a week, but actually like plays every day for hours. That's where the disconnections comes in, because yeah, guys, I understand your will to not sacrifice another 5 hours of your employee because it all costs money, because that's going to get reworked. But dudes, we struggle with things like the cargo example. We struggle with the values and all that since 3.0, dude. That's like what 3 years now, and that's just like probably a few hours of work for maybe a single person, besides like QAing then. So
For a big
those
game.
things that, yeah, those things that like really I don't like about Star Citizen, and it just blows my mind. I sometimes I just lose my patience with that. And if they paid more attention at that, I could have like just ignored the entire thing with bugs and 30Ks and whatever, right? But like when the bugginess of the game just steps on top of an ability to deal with values for years, that's when it like just gets super critical to me. And I don't want to get like too much into like exact examples, but it's like with the capacitors, dude. So probably the reason why they never touched majority of ships, because they knew for so many patches or whatever time frame that the capacitors are coming, and a lot of shit is gonna get reworked. We don't even know what is gonna get reworked, but probably they know.
Yeah.
So they didn't bother to, balance out stuff because they knew everything will be different. And that's my whole point. It's like one of the biggest issues is they implement a system into the game, a feature, and in patch 2, it just becomes legacy. It becomes abandoned. Like it stops properly working. You could see, I could name like multiple features that just, they do it and they abandon it. They don't follow it up across the patches.
And that goes
and
for
it just,
PvP players,
that goes for
non-PvP
everything,
players.
dude.
That goes for
everything. For everything. Yeah, and that's the bigger, and they abandon it, and it just gets like destroyed slowly over the patches with a different code. It becomes legacy, and no one follows it up, so it actually works.
Yeah.
And you know why? Because there's gonna be a tier 2 for that feature, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably my biggest issue with that. And communication, like I know Spectrum, KEKW, but no, I'm not communicating with Spectrum anymore. I've lost any kind of will to do so. I did one report recently in Luke's thread about the prison, and I went there with a specific bug to cripple my gameplay just to make the game better, right? I reported it, and the next thing I got a reply was a guy with his imagine about how guards are gonna work and prohibit it in 42 years when the game is released. And that's exactly why I'm not going to Spectrum. Because like, dude, it's a thread, right? About the exact reports you have to do. Why do you come up here and give me a reply about how guards are gonna find out how you smuggle Hedonite into prison and put more security on that route? Dude, what are you talking about, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I don't go there. So besides like Spectrum, like the communication is like lacking a lot, right? It's just...
Yeah, I would have to agree. There's not very... On Twitch, it could be okay. Like, as a streamer, sometimes the devs really, really like to see the way you interact with the gameplay that they created, and then they will occasionally have a really nice back and forth with you about it.
Oh, yeah. Like, but do I have to be a privileged streamer?
You shouldn't be. Yeah.
Exactly. I shouldn't be.
But should the devs have to take the time out of their day to explain their work to every single backer all the time?
No.
Yeah. So it's like this really shitty situation with this open development bullshit. Is that it has some really good positives, but it also has some really annoying negatives.
It's just like it's like, again, I don't want to sound like anything about privileged. I think they need a focus group that is not Evocati, that they select by themselves on a goodwill, with like players that are very knowledgeable around certain areas, and they make like a consulting group, and it has to do nothing with Evocati, because Evocati is a different story.
You want to go more into that? Because I agree with you, but why?
I think there has to be like a like for different gameplay loops, right? They have to select like groups that can consult them even before the features are out. Like obviously NDA, all that. Like for example,
like they could have easily consulted me with mining before they ever put any of these silly features out.
They could consulted me or Agents Letty on Piracy. Like, what do you want guys to? What minimal changes do you want so the gameplay loop is valid? Like they could have consulted like Sigelian on trading, and all that stuff, because they need to find those people who are not blinded. For traders, they have to take a smart guy like Sigelian who understands that Laranite Rush is not the way to go for trading, right?
Yeah.
And all that. So who are not biased in just what they want, right? And I think if they do that, if they create those focus groups like that, it will do them good, honestly.
Yeah.
In communication, obviously, they cannot talk to every single backer and listen to them.
So how do you
Right.
create that
And,
focus group? It sounds like
knowing your player base. They know the player base, dude. They know me. They know you.
yeah, but we're streamers, so we still have that privilege, you know.
Yeah, I can even recommend people. I may not recommend like myself, you know.
I do that often. Yeah.
I can recommend anyone who's not streaming. I have a lot of like people I can just recommend to like Xylo or someone else on a specific topic. It doesn't have to be like streamers, dude.
Yeah.
Like overall, that's what the like whatever community management is for, right? They have to know their community. That's the whole point of community management, right?
Yeah.
That's how they select the players via like their community management stuff.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
you can go
so-
to that streamer first, and then those streamers typically would know other players in that field that aren't streamers.
Oh, dude, you can do it like that. You can do it through Spectrum. There are still like people in Spectrum who are actually sane. Like, for example, like
There's a
with
few
like
left.
like with combat and dogfighting. You know, like there is Goliath, right? He's a very clever guy. Maybe not everyone stands with his ideas, right? Of dogfighting. Maybe someone thinks it should be different, but he's a clever guy, right?
Sure.
I don't know how much they talk to him and listen to him, like all of that. It's not only about the streaming, dude. It's not only about the streaming.
I know, but it always will get perceived that way, which sucks.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know it's not, but other people.
Yeah, so I mean that thing, and obviously, yeah, waiting for content is a bad thing. Waiting for, especially like for people like me, because when my content as a player and as a content creator revolves around other players, unfortunately, we just have to wait. We just have to wait to get the tech server meshing and all that up, and then we might have a lot of things. Or they could have done some better hotspotting for everything, for mining, whatever, and you know. But again, that's probably goes against their long-term plans, so they're not doing it. Yep. Anyhow,
Maybe
there are a
right
lot
there.
of like, there are a lot of callers still. 3 people. I'm just stalling right now, dude.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll let you go then.
Yeah. I'll keep watching, dude.
I
Thanks.
appreciate it. Anytime, Cullet.
Yeah.
I love it. You just popped
Yeah.
in and we're like, "What are we talking about?" I'm down.
I
like
was
talking
just,
about
I was
Star
just,
Citizen.
yeah. I'm not streaming today, and I'm like, I'll see what's going on, and yeah. Oh, ATC.
All right.
Here we go. All right, I'll catch you later, dude.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon. All right, who's our next caller? Who do we got? Our next caller is NH Drew. What's up, Drew?
Hello, you hear me?
I hear you.
Alright, let me get your volume up. Okay, so
The state
I'm
of the
gonna start
game.
with the good things for me.
Yeah.
There's only 2 good things for me. The project itself, I love following the project. I want to be a game developer, so
Okay.
I love how they develop the game slowly, week for week. The new things, the bad things, the good. I don't care. It's just a good experience for me. And the scale. The scale is so fucking amazing. Being able to just watch a planet and go down, walk around, shoot some guys in a cave. It's good. It's okay. It's not perfect, but it's really nice. Now, the bad things. The game sucks, man. It is what it is. I'm not mad about it. It's just a bad game right now. We have to wait, and that's all. It's what we got.
Okay, well, on the topic of that, the thing for me that is always important is, yeah, we all know the game sucks, right? But it doesn't take a lot for a lot of us for it to be good enough. The game doesn't have to be good. It just has to be good enough, right? It has to be good enough where when you get home from work or you had a long day and you want something to do, what does that game look like? So the state of the game right now is it sucks. What what in the state of the game is keeping you from having a good time, and what in the state of the game is not?
I'd say my biggest problem is the sync. I just can't stand it. Like going to a cave and just see the NPC standing there looking at me. I can't get it. Or when I'm mining, and then I can mine something because the rock is not there, but I see it there, but it's not there, so I have to wait 10 minutes, or I go to a bounty and I have to wait 3-5 minutes so it is found. I just can't stand it. But I don't care. I'm not in a hurry. I can wait a couple years, 2, 3, 4, whatever. I just don't care. What I want to know is why you play Star Citizen, because I don't get it. Because you have a lot of fucking games that are ended with a lot of loops, with a purpose. So why you play Star Citizen? I do play it. I play like 6-7 days a month, and I enjoy. But I don't know why I enjoy it, because it sucks so much, and I don't know.
Okay, I enjoy it because of the potential. I enjoy it because while you're playing, you can see why you are playing. Does that make sense? It's easy to see. I think the camera just dipped. Hold on, let me fix it. You could see why you're playing the game. It's a situation where you're playing it and you go, I really want to play a game in this universe. I want to play a game in this world that they're building. Right? I think that's kind of why I want to play. And that's the reason why I still do, is because even though it's a pretty crappy experience at the moment, it still does bring those elements of wow occasionally. And you kind of, it's I wouldn't say I'm addicted, because I don't want to, but I do want to describe it a little bit like a drug, in the sense of I want to experience the thing that was really cool again. So you continue to play to keep trying to achieve that experience again. So like the other day, we had a really crazy experience with PvP. That was cool. I'd like for that to happen again, maybe. But maybe have it go better than it did. But in general, yeah, I mean, it's sort of what I strive for and why I keep playing, is finding those great moments that you experienced in the game again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think that's why I play too, but I'm not sure. But my point is that I don't understand it, because I have the option to, but I don't do it. For example, the PvP thing. You can choose 10, 20, 30 games that give you the same reward. For example, I don't know who it was that was talking about War Thunder. I played War Thunder with some friends, and
it was stunt ass. Yeah.
So I played War Thunder with, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 friends, and it's kind of the same experience. Like, you are in there, the realism that you can, I don't know, communicate with your teammates. It's hard, you die, you respawn, and it's kind of the same experience. But why I go back to Star Citizen, I just don't get it. I don't understand. Because, I don't know, for example, the exploration thing about the Star Citizen, that is, well, it is not in the game. I played recently, what was the name? Outer Wild, I think. I don't know if you have played.
We were talking about it earlier today, yeah.
It was amazing. I loved that game. But if I had to choose one between Star Citizen and Outer Wilds, I would choose Star Citizen, and I don't know why. Because it sucks, but I don't know.
I think Morph described it really well. I think Morph described it really well in last week's podcast. Nobody's making this. Nobody's making Star Citizen. Every other game you play, it isn't Star Citizen. It just isn't. So it's always something that passes the time. Nobody's taking risks. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, is nobody's taking risks right now. because it's stupid. Nobody's dumb enough or willing to take a crazy risk and make a game like Star Citizen. Everybody is just... Oh my god, he sent me way more than a chair, dude. He sent me, I think, a desk mount, and... Yeah, he went nuts. So... Yeah, I don't think people are willing to take the risk to make something like that. And when you play another game, you see it and you feel it. You know?
Yeah,
When you play other games, you go, yeah, this isn't... This is cool, but... So, that's kind of, I think, what's happening. I know what this is.
That was all really. There are some more colors, so I don't want to take our time. So
Okay.
let's just wait and hope in maybe 20 years this is a decent game.
I think it'll be very soon before it's a decent experience and worth playing. I really do. I really believe that. I truly do.
It looks bright, the near future, but we'll have to see because the delays are always there. So let's hope.
Yep. Let's hope. I got my hopes up still, and I assume you do, and that's why we're both still here, and we'll see what happens.
Yep.
All right, man. I guess we'll let you go, and we'll bring in the next caller. So thank you, Drew. It was very nice talking to you, man.
Same here. Thanks, Mike.
All right, be good. All right, so our next caller is Jester's Heapy. Hey, Jesters, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I hear you perfect.
Cool. I've like organized everything. It's so interesting to hear so many different point of views and.
Oh, Jester Sheepy. There you go. Sorry, I said your name wrong.
So, well, I mean, this is the first time me speaking here. I've been in your channel a few times, and yeah, I'm a developer in the games industry.
Okay.
I've gone from junior level up to director on the current project that I'm on.
All right.
I feel like I have some experience with this stuff, but
I would say you have some. I would argue you have some experience for sure.
2 seconds. I need to turn Bluetooth off on my phone because that is taking over my headphones because I'm an idiot. 2 seconds. Technical issues. Okay, I still can't hear you. Got down.
Technical.
All right, let me. I'll be 5 seconds. Let me disconnect my Bluetooth and reconnect.
All good. Take your time.
Yeah, I'm an idiot. I mean, I can still talk, but I just can't hear. I mean, I can just go while I'm doing this. I'm just connecting it. Like Star Citizen is a super unique project. What is it? 350 million right now.
Yeah.
I can hear you now.
Awesome.
And that is so unique in the realm of game development. There's rarely any projects that ever reach that size or that caliber. You look at like GTA, it's like, 200, most of it is on marketing, honestly. Like there's a lot of AAA games that 80% of the budget is on marketing. They don't have a publisher. They're making a new IP. They're using an engine that was built initially for Far Cry that then evolved into CryEngine. There's a crap ton of complications, and they've never released a game as a studio before. They've all released games, obviously, individually. Like, they're all very experienced guys. But CIG has never released a game. And I think that's one aspect that I always keep at the front of my mind when always thinking about Star Citizen. And I'm on the same... I play the game hundreds of hours. I try and do as many loops as I can. I freaking love it. I think it's extremely frustrating, but the more you play, the more you invest, the more frustrated you get because
100%.
the progress isn't being made at a good rate. It's like, I want it now. Give me all of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think honestly, from the developer point of view, it's quite a massive feat that they managed to pull together. How many studios is it now? And they're pulling in more, and they've got how many developers working on it? And just the logistical nightmare of having the producers and the hierarchy to organize, okay, well, what's important, guys? What do we focus on? And I feel like they haven't actually given us very clear transparency into that side of the development. They've given us like the end result. So, hey, we went into a meeting, we prioritized all this stuff. Some things got cut, some other things got put in, or maybe we won't put them in because we're not sure if we can do them yet. And all we get to see is, hopes and dreams crushed, or it's going to take way longer to get salvaging, medical, whatever else in. And it just puts an absolute bummer on everything. But we don't get to see why they did it. Like, what is Chris thinking? What is Tony thinking? Like, what's the process there? Or is it just the case on they've discovered something that makes the scope increase? Is it the complications? I know they've done that to salvage loads. There's like that image going around. Was it 3.6 it was supposed to come in? It's 5 years later. It's crazy.
Salvage was 3.2.
Yeah.
In that image, but that image is a meme.
5 years. Yeah. No,
That
but
image
I
is
remember
amazing.
watching that.
Yeah.
I remember watching that.
I
I
was
remember
there
getting
live.
hyped. Oh, that's cool, man. Yeah, that's too far. I think that was in America, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in LA. I'm not proud that I was there. It was a
I
sad
mean, but
day.
that looked. When I watched that, I got so hyped. Like, and I think that's the thing that I want to touch on next is this. There's no other games really like this. Obviously, there's games that have complete loops, like you're talking about Conan. I love Conan. I feel like Conan is like a really good hybrid between a load of things, and it's got loads of solid loops with really nice progression. But then you look at Star Citizen, and it's like, where's the loops? Okay, you got mining. Some of the dogfighting's okay when you haven't got desync. And yeah, you got a ton of ships, but it's like, where are they? And I feel like that's the unique part of Star Citizen that people both love and hate. Like they come to it because Chris Roberts is saying, no, we're going to do mining, but we don't want to do mining like any other game that's done mining. Let's rethink how I would like mining to be. And then you look at it and it's like, right, okay, well, it's not bad, like how you put it in. And then they start like doing all this stuff that they don't really communicate very well, like the whiskey simulation stuff. It's like at the time you're like, is that needed? Like, but then he doesn't. Well, they do explain why they did it, but that's like the subtext. It's like,
But they also
we did
explain
it
it
so
in
we
like
can...
in like not a very simple way either. Like, here's
Yeah.
the thing: if you've played a Chris Roberts game, the bartender has a huge role in his Wing Commander series. Huge role.
Yeah.
Every time. So the bartender is important for Squadron 42, I would imagine, in some way.
Well, and it might be important for just generating the queues and the back end services. So it's like, okay, the player's requesting something. Now we can return something to the player. Does that process work? And that could translate to other gameplay systems. It doesn't have to be a whiskey class. And I think they said that in the subtext, but that's not very easy for some people to comprehend. And I'm not putting people down there. It's just, game development in a nutshell.
Here's the thing. It is easy, but we don't want to comprehend that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, I don't
definitely.
care. I
exactly,
personally
but-
don't care. Some backers absolutely do. I do not. I'm not interested in that stuff. I'm interested in, when do I get to play the game? When do I get to play the game I've been looking forward to playing? Where's that?
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's sometimes
definitely.
the disconnect there with this open game development. Like, do you think you, as a developer, that you could work in this environment? It's got to be kind of hard.
No, I have worked in live service games before.
Okay.
And it's often that you're exposed very much to why something is happening or priorities, but it's not always the best way to expose a lot of that to the consumers or the players, because it opens the door to, okay, this is how development works. And because they haven't taken maybe a degree in how game development works, they'll start asking questions, and you get into this deep discussion of if it's right or wrong, or priorities, or it ends up, and to be honest,
Or
that
how
happens
simple
in the
things
game
are.
studio as well. Yeah, that happens in the game studio as well. I've had times where I'm talking to like a UI designer, and we're trying to figure out, how do you place things so the player can understand it in the clearest way? And then 5 other people come in, the product owner, the lead designer, everyone else, and then they're saying, oh no, you should change it to red because red will be the solution. And someone else will have a different opinion. But at the end of the day, that UI designer is the best equipped to do his job the best that he can.
Yeah.
And it's a constant struggle of not just consumer versus developer, but developers themselves, of too many chefs in the kitchen. And I think that Star Citizen is definitely pushing into that territory of exposing just enough of the game development, but not exposing all of it, for obvious reasons. And it's a struggle for them for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I always worry about that. And like we had a big argument last week on the podcast about should they just shut the doors and make the game and not have it be a live service and blah 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 blah. And
That wouldn't work, would it?
no, obviously not. And that's what I was trying to say, and that's why it was a big argument. But
No,
it
I think that's quite simple, that right now they're not selling a live service game. They're selling a development as a service.
Yeah.
They're not selling their game.
no, because the game isn't there to sell yet.
Exactly, yeah. But
I mean,
it's
Chris
frustrating because you
has-
can play it.
Have you seen the statement from Chris? I think it was like last
one?
year's CitizenCon or 2 years ago, where he said like all these game experiences like piracy and mining and cargo hauling and medical, they're all actually in the game, and the game is there.
Yeah. I mean, back
but
end
they're in-
maybe.
Yeah, they're in it at such like a basic bitch state that it's not. That's not really like a good argument, in my opinion.
No. That's one of those things where you can talk to developers going, they're in. It just needs the content. It just needs the QA. It needs the producers to plan all the times around that. But
Yeah.
to say that to consumers, that is like,
It
I
felt
don't
like
want
a
to say the
slap in
words,
the
but
face.
almost manipulation.
Yeah, it felt like a slap in the face a little bit. It's like, no, they're not. Don't lie to me. Come on, man. They're not in.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So to get like on the topic of where it's at, I mean, the frustrating things for me in this game is the low-hanging fruits. Yeah, I understand that there's a lot of things in the game where I had loads of new friends playing in the Invictus Week, and they couldn't figure out the star map. They couldn't figure out the F interaction system. They were saying the colors are too bright behind it. They can't see the text. And almost all the time, my reply was, yeah, they haven't fixed that because they're reworking the whole system. But they've been reworking the whole system for about a year, so
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. And I think that's the struggle. It's one of those plate spinners of, okay, well, where it's at now, you can get mad about desync, you can get mad about optimization. I'm sure the developers are mad about it as well. But it's like, okay, well, if we need to hit these targets that we want in the future with 10,000 quanta, with all this stuff going on, then we're going to have to make sure that we do it in such a way to where we're not wasting more time right now. And to be honest, I think they have got, it's hard to say because like previously you said, okay, what have we got in a year? But honestly, I do think over the last few years, they've got better at churning out content or not content, like updates to the engine, updates to the technology. There's a lot of work happening, but we're not seeing a lot of it.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
So yeah, the most frustrating thing are the low-hanging fruits. I think that they should put more emphasis on things like missions. They should put more emphasis on lootables. Like they have that in the game already. There shouldn't be new technology for it.
They're prioritizing
put-
that stuff. To be fair, they do seem to be prioritizing that stuff. So that's good news, but yeah.
It feels like since Fleet Week last year, where they made their biggest month, they've almost changed gears a bit of going, okay, no, we need to build the vehicle experience team. We need to put a few more resources into player-facing development.
Yeah.
So I am hoping, fingers crossed, that some of the Xeno threat stuff, some of this infiltration stuff, and is going to push it into a different model of live service. Like we've had Invictus Week, and now we're supposed to be having Alien Week, and then we're supposed to be having 3.14, and they're all almost within the same month, which is awesome to hear that.
Yeah.
Not that it gives you incredible content, but it's like, it's cool to see that trickle.
Oh yeah. I'm looking forward to whatever this Ninetales thing is. Like really looking forward to that, because we see the Tony Z video recently about what, sorry, I'm trying to figure this chair out. What the
Like the thinking behind it all is.
Yeah, but then he also at the same time is literally showing you the next event of like, okay, so we prioritize these things because we want these areas to be locked down by pirates, and then cargo rates are going to go up, but then you're going to get interdicted every time you try to come in, and it seems like it's going to be interesting. And they also implied that, you know, obviously you're going to be able to play two sides, so people can possibly be the pirates and things like that. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool.
It'd be cool.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that I'd really dislike to work for CIG right now is you've got so many different people, like say Space Cut. There's a lot of Twitch streamers that are PvPers, but you got a lot of people that just love mining. You got a lot of people that are waiting for things coming, and you've just got so many different people because you're making a universe sim, and there's not many games or any games that really try and push that. You got to please everyone, and it's really hard to do that. And I would not like to be in CIG's position for this. I think it's tough.
It's not an envious position at all. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be really tough. I hope it works out, though. We'll have to see.
I think it should. If the hype carries on with what people want and they realize that throwing money is getting results, I think we're still yet to see what's going to happen from that 200-man ramp-up studio making planets. But I think if the content keeps going the way it is, I'm really hoping for, I don't want to say it, but like next year to be a big thing. But then I think that's been the same case for, ever since we talked about Salvage back in 2018 or 2017.
It has been. It's been multiple years of that kind of feeling of I hope next year's going to be the year. And it hasn't always been, which is unfortunate, but I think you can definitely go, hey, COVID probably played a little bit of a role here and so on and so forth on some of this stuff. So
yeah. One aspect that I do want to touch on that I personally find really cool is like hard surface modeling. Star Citizen is at the peak of the industry in that. And they're also doing the Gen 12 renderer with Vulkan, where the last game to do really good stuff with Vulkan was actually Doom and Doom Eternal. They did incredible work on that stuff. So I'm really, as a developer, I'm looking at this like, oh, this looks so tasty. I want to, even just like jumping into the verse, pulling out some of my ships and then looking at them in intricate detail and like design. And there's a different appreciation there of just like, I'm okay. To be honest, I've said this before, like ages ago, but I'm okay with Star Citizen in some ways dying and being put in a museum and just saying, look at how incredible this art piece was, what they achieved with all the floating composition. I mean, like none of us are.
I am not okay with that, sir. Speak for yourself.
Yeah. But yeah, exactly. I'm just saying from that level, that aspect, if you look at it through that lens, this project has achieved a lot, and I really appreciate it for that side of it. I really like it for that.
Okay. Well, all right, Jester. I think we'll leave it there because we have a couple more callers and not a whole lot of time left. So thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. And thank you for your more unique perspective in the Star Citizen community, because game devs are hard to come by. Because real game devs, we all think we are in this community, That's one of the things the project has done, is made us think we're all game devs. But all right, buddy, thank you so much for calling. I appreciate it.
Cheers, man. Catch you later.
Man. Steve B. Dancer is up next. Steve, before we get to you, the chair is super duper comfortable. Just in case you guys are coming in late on the live stream, Monster Tech Olson from Monster Tech sent us out this chair. It's unique. I think it's kind of one of a kind at the moment. It's the same chair you saw Nubifier have and Morphologist, but I have the only cloth version, so it's pretty sick. The stream's not sponsored, but like I am sponsored by Monster Tech, so they'll send stuff out. It's not a paid for thing or anything. He actually had been reaching out to me for a long time. I did not get the email or wherever he was sending it to, and he continued to find different routes just to send this thing out to me. And said, hey, do whatever with it. I really enjoy your content and all that stuff. So that's really what it was. Olson's just a sweet, sweet, sweet person. But yeah, this is the anti-swamp butt version or swamp-ass version because I live in Florida, so I can't be on leather. Like, as you can see, I'm a little glistening here because it's so hot in just the room, even in an air-conditioned room sometimes in the summer here. But all right, Steve, the state of Star Citizen. How you doing?
Could I just ask you about that chair? How heavy is that chair?
Not heavy at all. Very easy to pick up.
Looked heavy.
No, look, I can pick it up. It's not. It's a lot of the parts are these, like, I think it's called anodized aluminum, right? So they're pretty hollow and yeah, it's kind of light. but it's strong. So yeah, not too heavy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm also a superhumanly strong, for your average gamer. Just kidding, I'm not. But no, it's not heavy.
Well, the state of Star Citizen, as I see it, is it's. I would agree very much with Space Cutlet is a tech demo. They try something and then they move on. They try something, they move on. They try something, and they don't go, okay, let's complete it. No, they're like, let's do the next thing. It's like a person on ADD.
I think that's this is the whole thing with agile development is it looks like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a combination of us being the project being open and the project being agile, where it ends up getting really weird. Because it looks that way, but it's not really. It is that way, but it's not. I don't know.
I see them slowly taking certain ships and going to gold level, and obviously that's a clear indication those ships must be in Squadron 42, and they're getting them ready for Squadron 42. But I see other ships, how many times do I wish I could have the Vanguard have an actual button for the ramp? Oh my God. Trying to find the close button to close the ramp on it is just a royal pain. So certain ships are getting a lot more love than others, which of course is Squadron 42. But what I'm most worried about is they keep on adding new and new code and new possibilities of what you could do in the game. They're going to be adding code that going up ladders, you're going to be able to shoot with one gun while you're holding onto the ladder. You're going to be able to slide. All the FPS parts of a game is going to be in this universe game, on top of all the space things that you can do in a normal space game.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm seeing is what happens, how much are they going to have in server meshing to free up so much space for all these new activities to come in?
Let me try and ask you a question to understand you a little bit better. Is what you're saying is like when server meshing frees up all the space for them to add more content, the more content that they add is just going to cause all the problems that we are, they just keep cramming in more. Am I understanding that right?
Yes. So
Okay.
Right now we have a bunch of desync. We could barely get above 30 to 40 frames, sometimes down to 20 frames per second.
I'm in the teens regularly now. With an older PC.
It's harsh. I got a 2080, and I could, depending on where I am, I get anywhere from 20 to 45. And what I'm worried about is that if you keep on adding more functionality, that more functionality has to go through a kind of a blind list of, did he press these buttons to activate it? And those things itself are cycles in the computer. So in that case, that in itself is slowing down the servers more. So by, server meshing, it's not going to be, at first, I feel that it's not going to be adding any more users to a single logon. It's going to be pretty much going to be handing off certain tasks, hopefully like mining, to a different server just for mining, and the main server is just tracking things
That's
around
not really
you.
how they explained it, though.
But I just see it as, okay, you got Let me try to put it in a different way. Think of a person's heart, and a heart beats one. We're just gonna say 1,000 times. A bird's heart beats 1,000 times a minute. Now, we're just using this as an example. Is that if you keep on putting in one finger has maybe five heartbeats, and now you keep on adding more and more of these things that need heartbeats, and these are all playable game options. Then sooner or later, you run out of heartbeats that these things could do. So you start saying, okay, let's offload data. Well, if you offload a Lorville, and all you're doing is you're offloading a graphical piece that it has to track. But still,
Can I stop you?
All those options. Yeah.
What server meshing is it adds more hearts in your explanation. Does that make sense? Server meshing is adding more hearts. Not
Go ahead.
Not offloading the work of one heart to something else. It's basically making unlimited hearts. Yeah. That's it in its end goal. Now, what I think you're describing is exactly what we'll experience early on, though. Because it's not going to be dynamic, it's going to be static. So, like, Lorville is one heart. And so are you and I on the same page at least?
Yes.
Okay.
And okay, so
I'll let you continue. I apologize for jumping in.
No, not at all. So how I see the universe coming around is that yes, server meshing will make quite a bit of boost in frame rates because of you're handing off all these parts that the server had to do itself.
Okay.
But I'm hoping that it's going to be seamless when certain servers are now going to be, taking part of that load off, just like on the back end servers for mining. When you go up to do the processing of your materials, it sometimes takes a little bit because you're now communicating with a different server instead of the one you're on. So in that case, there's that small delay from going from this one to that one.
Okay.
To get that information. And then...
But those things tend to be about things that are less time sensitive, right? So it's like using a menu and dealing with a UI. It's not really the things that you described earlier, like FPS mechanics and climbing down a ladder and using a gun while doing it. That's all being tracked by like the main server. These things are being taken off and they call them services. I don't know if this is like a general game development thing, but these are services that are being utilized by another server, and then our server communicates with the services. That's not really server meshing. That we already have that right now, like you're describing with cargo and refining and all those things. Those are just different services. Shopping, right? Sometimes the shopping service goes down and we can't buy anything or anything, right? So I'm just trying to figure out what you're getting at, if I can ask again.
So the meshing of handing off from one server to another to go to different location is pretty much I'm hoping that he's going to find a way that it isn't going to take forever
Okay.
to make that handover while you're in Quantum.
Yeah. I
Because-
feel like it's going to be pretty jolty at first, right? Don't you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
look how long it takes us to start a session into the game in the first place.
True.
And now you're going
But that's
to
because we're
be-
loading in 5 planets. This is just loading in 1.
Well, object container says that we're only loading in that area.
Yes,
So we're
but
not
the
loading in all 5
server.
planets.
But if somebody's gone to every area in the server has loaded in all those areas.
But that's already preloaded because people have already been there. All you're loading is your area.
Oh, I
and
see
you're
what you're
making
saying.
the connection.
Okay,
So,
then
the-
true.
yeah,
I
the
get what you're
server's
saying.
already
Then
loaded in those.
yeah, we're on the same page. That's true. Like if we're jumping into New Babbage, it's a pretty hefty load. But we also deal with that now through Quantum, and it's not too problematic, is it?
No.
So
I don't
why do you
know
expect
all
that to
the-
be an issue? Also,
Well,
the state of the game. We got to
Okay,
somewhat get it back
state
on
of the
topic.
game, I think the state of the game is that they are finagling as much as they can into the system, into the game, in order to keep everyone as happy as they possibly could without going, sorry guys, we don't have anything because we're working on server meshing.
Yeah, I agree.
And we're a hard crowd. I mean, you just simply amaze me by how much time you spent in it, and where it's going. I have a weird feeling that for the virtual sitcom, I have a weird feeling is that a lot of these items that were shifted to next quarter, he is going to say, you know what, we
This
got
is
all
our
those in.
sitcom. Yeah. I could see that. I could see that.
You know, and saying, okay, guys, at the end of the sitcom, it is now yours to play for that. You know, it's probably going to be PTU and everything before that happens.
I can see that.
Using that as a selling point, you know, so he has something great to talk about for 1 or 2 days or however long it's going to be.
Yeah.
So he could be holding back technology just for that occasion, or, you know, trying to perfect it that little bit more. We don't know. There's a lot.
Yeah, I don't think
But
he's doing
it
it on
just-
purpose, but I think that could be like a definite big feature talk or show and tell type thing at CitizenCon. I don't think he's doing it. I don't think he's holding it back though on purpose. That's my personal opinion, but yeah.
But I think that it's once we start having iterations of server meshing, that will be the true tell of
If
if
this
this
game's
game
possible,
is
right?
yes, exactly.
I
If it's
agree.
possible.
The
But
problem is I've
no
been
one-
saying that for 2 years, and I don't want to say it anymore. So
No.
it's quite hopeful on the monthly report that a lot of teams are doing like their initial work for server meshing, and yeah, hopefully something good happens soon. But I can't wait for it much longer. It's getting kind of frustrating.
Yeah, finding content from the same thing you've been doing for so many years already is it's like, okay, let's do this again.
Yeah, I don't want to do it
Um,
anymore. I really don't.
Yet, I mean, you got a great audience and a great bunch of friends you could do it with, and
Yeah,
that's
it's an
and I
advantage
have to
for
agree.
sure.
I have to agree that it is one of the most beautiful games.
Oh yeah,
Graphically wise, it's hands down pushes
No
the
doubt.
level that Chris Roberts has always done on every single game he's released is pushed the limit. And he's looking to push it really big this time.
Yeah, I mean, he's
So
hit the limit, right? In a way, he's hit the limit, and now he's trying to break through it and find the next one. And that's what that server meshing thing that we've been talking about, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So, well,
All right,
after everyone's already beat this topic to a million pieces, and it's hard to say anything different from anyone else.
Yeah, we've had a lot of calls today.
Yeah. But thank you for having me on, and hopefully we'll cross our fingers, toes, and everything else, and maybe we'll get a little better frame rates by the end of the year.
Maybe. Thank you for explaining yourself a couple times to me, too, because it took a little bit for us to get on that same page, but I'm glad we got there.
I tend to bounce around a bit.
No, I don't think you were. It's just, I just didn't get it at first, and now I do. So, thanks, Steve.
Yep.
All right, buddy. Have a good one. All right, and our final caller of the day is Agent Sleddy. Yo, what's up, Letty? Can you hear me?
Hey, Mike, how's it going? How's the new chair?
It's really comfortable. So most of those gamer chairs are really wide, and it's hard to describe, but I have way more arm movement. So my shoulders can go back, and like a big problem I have is slouching, and this allows my shoulders to go back, and I think that's why it feels like super, super comfortable. But yeah, hold on, I'm changing your name here. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
So little context here is Agent Sleddy pirated me a couple days ago. And it was probably, I don't know for you and how many experiences you get to have at this, but for me it was one of the better Star Citizen experiences I've had in recent times, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. So the state of the game might feel a little bit different to you at the moment than it does for others. So where do you stand?
Yeah, so the state of Star Citizen, it's a bit interesting hearing everybody else's perspective on it, because for us, and I say us because I mainly talk about my org when it comes to the Star Citizen experience.
And say who they are, it's fine.
Oh, my org, Mongol Squad, you guys may have heard of them before. So for us, when it comes to playing Star Citizen, the primary reason why we still play Star Citizen is because of piracy. There's a level of challenge that we find in doing piracy in the current environment that we're playing in right now.
Mm-hmm.
And for pretty much the longest period of time, like when we got to the baby PU, so back in the 2.0 days, like just trying to find, ships to board, it was a bit, taskless when it came to doing it back then, because it was like ships were unlocked by default, so it was like open the door, just waltz on in, steal somebody's ship.
Yeah.
But over time, like as the game developed further, like once we got into 3.0, the ability to like destroy ships, get cargo from them, like when I first saw that, I'm like, we've got that tier 0 piracy, this is awesome, until I actually destroyed a caterpillar and saw all the boxes, and I'm like, I gotta pick all these up by hand, this is crap.
And they were worthless, for the most. Each box individually doesn't have much value.
Yeah, and over time though, like we were always looking for the next, like thing that we could do to iterate on piracy, always the next opportunity. And for us, like when we got beacons coming in, it was like, all right, we've got ransom and extortion now. Like we've got a tool to be able to use to be able to transfer money between players. And it took a long time for that concept to catch on. But when it came to like just the piracy gameplay, one of the biggest hurdles that we found was like just pushing ourselves out there, doing it more, and trying to get the message out there. Like, this is stuff that you can do now. And I guess for us, when it comes to doing piracy in Star Citizen, it's one of those things where it's like, I kind of feel sorry for everybody else that's not doing, like that can't do piracy to the same extent of their own game loops right now. Like, we get to experience the game in a lot more of a, I guess, like, I feel like sometimes we're like playing 6 months ahead at times of everybody else in terms of like the
You have your hurdles,
content
though.
that we're able to achieve. Yeah, we still experience all the hurdles like desync, the issue with like low population servers, the events like Invictus Week, the ship shows and all that. Like,
I mean, I
we
think my
lose a lot of
major
targets during
hurdle.
that time.
Sure, I think the major hurdle for you guys probably is the only legitimately valuable piracy would be going for rock miners, which is what I was doing at the time, right? You can't really go for those cargo haulers, can you? Or are you? Or
Well, we try to when we can, and like one of the things that we do really want to be fixed is the economy. Like, we really want the economy fixed up so that people are cargo hauling again.
Yeah.
During Invictus Week, we were setting up snares and trying to interdict people who were trading the new commodities that got introduced. Unfortunately, like, it was all new stuff. So when we'd done our tests, found a whole range of issues. So it was one of those situations where, like, if the cargo hauler didn't want to pay up, even if we took the ship from them, like, if we self-destructed, the boxes were worthless. A lot of the time, once again, with the introduction of a new ship, new challenge there of taking it down, the Herc is definitely a challenge. Not as bad as the Carrack, but it's one of those things where it's like, when people saw the Herc come in, like, they all went, shiny new ship, we can start using it to move tanks around and stuff like that. We're looking at like, all right, this ship can now carry more cargo. We're going to hopefully see a lot more cargo haulers if they fix up trade, because, big ship that obviously fix trade, right?
Yeah.
We've got the answer now. But for us, like, overcoming the challenges of like, dealing with ships that, are that large that can be outfitted the way that it is, the weapon system that's on it, like that M2 that you guys had yesterday, man, like, that was a serious,
a solo
like,
pilot.
Yeah, that's right.
No
and
turrets.
It's a huge asset.
Yeah,
that's right. And it was a huge asset to you guys. Like, if we hadn't focused our attention on it when we probably would have lost more ships, and you guys may have been able to get away with it.
Yeah.
It's one of those situations where it's like, the game that we play almost feels different when we look at the way that everybody else is playing. I'm always, like, one of the big things that I'm always trying to, do with our content that we're pushing out there for the community to view is like, this is something that you can do now. And if we're able to do this, you've got the opportunity to stop us as well. Like, there's nothing stopping security orgs getting out there and hunting us down. And we've experienced this before. We've had, we've been targeted by security organizations, and, they've come looking for us. They've tried ambushing us, and we've been able to fight our way out of it a lot of the time. But it's one of those situations where it's like, the game doesn't really encourage it in an obvious way for the majority of the community to be able to see, like, hey, this is something that a lot of you can do. It doesn't bring a lot of the community together.
Yeah.
Xenothreat was a good opportunity for that type of gameplay. CIG, I don't know why they put the armistice zone in around the cargo areas. I personally didn't agree with that. It actually made it easier for people to grief in those areas. I personally would have preferred if they kept the armistice zone away from there, but CIG works in their own, mysterious ways. But yeah, when it comes to like the state of Star Citizen and the way that we look at, how the game's played, a lot of what we're doing is like, we feel like we're on the cutting edge of, gameplay for Star Citizen itself, where we're investigating, learning, trying to work out, how to overcome challenges that are being introduced, like dealing with desync, like, keeps getting brought up. we deal with desync in a completely different way to what the majority of the community will, in terms of like chasing a ship down to disable it. Being able to work out how far away you need to be from a ship when it's at max speed, trying to get just a shield quadrant down with a coordinated group without running into each other, whilst also charging your EMPs, trying to keep the distance on your QED on the target as well. Like that all there doesn't sound like much, but when you're actually trying to do it and you've got all those players working in that tight space and everyone is desyncing, like you don't know if you're actually going to hit someone or not. And you may like just all of a sudden go spinning off into space and you didn't hit anything and somebody's telling it, no, you just clipped the target ship.
Yeah.
All that sort of gameplay, like all that sort of stuff there, like that we go through, that we put ourselves through, like we have to seek that out ourselves, but it feels like to us that we're always on the cutting edge of, like piracy gameplay, piracy development. And with the way that we view piracy is that we'll never see piracy mechanics being introduced per se. We'll always see other mechanics being introduced that we're able to leverage for piracy.
Yeah.
So,
which I think is fine.
It's one of those things where it's like, it's good in a way because it gives us that ability to explore into mechanics that are being developed as they are being developed, and to be able to learn about them a lot more. Like distortion, distortion damage, direct distortion weapons and things like that. I think it was like during the mask event that a lot of people started finding out about how strong distortion weapons were.
Yeah.
We had known about that for ages. They'd been that strong for patches before that, but when the lethal weapons got rebalanced, we started to find out, like the rest of the community started to find out just how potent those distortion weapons were.
Mm-hmm.
And then, those distortion weapons got rebalanced. And we'll always be, providing our feedback to CIG. I post, semi-regularly on Spectrum. We do our bug reporting. We, push our content out onto YouTube as well. We're just trying to, we just try and get piracy out there to try and inspire other groups to do piracy, to inspire other players to try and, counter us. Like the hit from yesterday, man, loved every second of it.
It was so
you
fun.
Fighting back was not expecting you. Totally,
I
man.
thought
Wasn't
about not
expecting
fighting
you
back.
to be jumping out.
I actually stood there and kept mining
I'm
for a
glad you
second.
did.
Well, here's the thing: is you guys actually aren't. Okay, first off, you didn't come in full on saber, or not sabers, vanguards, sentinels, and like you came in a group of ships that synergized together, and you had a plan, and the plan wasn't to just ruin my experience and kill me, right? Your plan was to pirate me, and in that sense, there were steps that you guys went through, and it was interesting. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, these guys aren't here just to be like, yeah, there's like almost like a roleplay element to it. Somebody said that in chat. And I was like, these guys aren't being the typical experience that I have. Because most people just come and instantly shoot the rock. And I just stand there. And I was like, all right, just kill me. Like, get it over with, and I'll move on to the next thing. Because I don't actually care. And then you guys are, like, playing the game. Like, actually playing the game. And that's when it was like, okay, well, I'll play then. I'll play along then, because most people don't play the game. They're just dicks. So you guys were playing the game, and I was like, I'll play along. No problem. And I actually was prepared for once and had a few rounds of some things. And yeah, it was interesting. Do you guys have that up on YouTube yet?
It's scheduled to go out in a couple of hours from now.
Cool.
We're just maintaining our schedule, but yeah, this one jumped the queue ahead of a couple of our other videos that we've got lined up. So, but it's one of those things where it's like, even like that hit was one of the first hits that we've had in a long time where we've lost so many of our own ships, and like we regained a healthy respect for the railgun. A lot of the time when it's come to a lot of the time, mate, when it's come to like doing our hits, like we'll come in, We'll do our EMP suppression, like drop our ground teams. And, the way I see any sort of PvP in Star Citizen, like killing other players is stupid easy to do. Like that, in my mind, isn't a challenge, especially when we're going up against miners and cargo haulers. Like killing them isn't the challenge. Like we could easily do that. We don't even need to show up with that many ships. We could literally just show up with like an Eclipse and just torp you. Like that's not hard.
Yeah.
But the ultimate goal for us is like to try and do piracy as efficiently as possible, which means that we don't want to be getting crime stats. We don't want to be getting a bad rep. Literally we only want the gems. Now, if you want to fight back, that's cool. Like, totally fine with that. Like that's your, when we come up to pirate people, we're presenting them a choice. You can either comply with what we want or you can try and fight back. You want to fight back, that's fine. We'll fight. We've come prepared for that fight though. So when you end up in that position where you're like trying to fight back, we're under the impression that we're already going to win. So when people like actually participate in the loop and the gameplay there, and they start pulling out, these left field things like, you running out there with a railgun, that's not normal for us. Like that's something that caught us off guard. And, like one of our guys, paid the price for it. And we almost lost our next EMP ship because of that too. So for us,
you almost lost a couple ships if I didn't run out of ammo and wasn't stupid. Like I basically didn't know a few aspects of the game where the Cutlass is really tanky in the front and not in the rear. Things like that. I probably could have killed your Cutlass Red and stayed alive a little bit longer.
But this is one of those things where it's like how like playing the game and actually participating in the game loops kind of helps give insight into the potential of what Star Citizen has a lot further on down the track than what people realize. That's why like I say, like I feel like we're playing the game 6 months ahead of everybody else at times when it comes to what we're doing, how we're playing the game. At the end of the day for us though, when it comes to like doing piracy, it's still an exploration for us, for what we're trying to do. Like we're trying to become the best at piracy that we can be within Star Citizen. And whilst CIG isn't sitting there telling us these are the mechanics that you've got to be able to do it, we're like just pulling what we can. So part of what we like do is theory crafting, but I try to always avoid that heavy theory crafting when you're looking years ahead and going imagine looking off into the stars. Like we always try and keep ourselves grounded in the game that we're playing in front of us right now. And there's a lot of potential there for what you can do. I understand a lot of the points that have been brought up previously in regards to how people, like go, what's the point of Star Citizen right now? Why would you bother, engaging in that sort of stuff? We hear it all the time about how we do piracy as well as like, why bother doing piracy now? It doesn't matter. And it's like, well,
why bother mining right now? It doesn't matter. Like it's a stupid response.
But we also, the way I see it as well is like, it's a video game. Like at the end of the day, it's a video game. It doesn't matter. It's not real life. It's, we don't, depend on this to be able to live. So why do we do it? It's for entertainment. Like that's why we pirate. We pirate to entertain ourselves. Mm-hmm. So when we go out there and we're like looking for people to, to pirate, sure, like a lot of the time, people don't want that to happen to them. That's understandable. We get that. But the fact of the matter is like we're permitted to do it in the game. It's what we want to do. So when we go out there to do it, we're going to go out there and we're going to hunt for targets and we're going to, go through our entire gameplay loop. So, like hunting down the target, stalking it when we find one. Once it's ready to hit, moving in, doing our, pretty much going through all the motions when it comes to hitting that person, presenting the options to them. And whether or not they're willing to listen or not, that's entirely up to them.
Did you try calling me?
No, we didn't. The idea was to EMP suppress you and then engage in dialogue on the ground.
Ah, okay.
So pretty much ground team was going to get down there.
And then Reezer just came in the M2 and started firing. Yeah, because he came in and saw people he didn't know and just was like, and went nuts.
Here's the funny thing about that. We were pretty much watching you for about 15 minutes before Reza had shown up in the M2.
Yeah.
And the guy that we'd pushed furthest close to you, he was moving in to try and get a scan. But I think it was Bakila, who was in the Nomad.
Yeah.
We were concerned because he was still in the pilot's chair. So if we got any closer, he'd pick him up.
Yeah.
So we're like, all right, we'll see how we go. And you'll see in the video, like, I made sure like I've kept your point of view there, but our comms are overlaid on top. So
Okay.
a lot of the stuff that we describe is stuff that's happening on your stream right in front of you. But Reza,
Chat's calling you sniper.
pretty much flew.
I know you're not though. It's okay.
Reza pretty much flew straight past our scout, and we're just like, oh shit. And then we're just like, oh well, we just have to assume that we've been spotted. And I'm like, all right, yeah, let's just commit. We'd known like that was your first node. Pretty much you were spotted at Bezdek by a scout.
I knew I shouldn't have went there. Never go to Bezdek, guys.
I was actually quite surprised. I was quite surprised actually, because from previous research that I've done on your movements,
it was just pure laziness.
Yeah.
And lack of caring.
At the end of the day, like a lot of our targets that we hit, it's because like they make those sorts of mistakes. Like there's no like, as much as some people would like to think, there's no like pirate command that allows us to spawn within 10 kilometers of someone. We're not like the NPCs. We actually have to look for people.
Yeah.
So like we rely on understanding human habits and motivations. So like a lot of the previous gameplay that I've watched from you doing mining on stream, like I was quite surprised to see that you're still on aerial. Because normally I know that your MO is to spawn your rock somewhere else and then take it to the moon that you're going to mine on.
Yeah, so, and hide which moon I'm going to, because I don't trust my stream.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine. And to be honest, like that to us is part of the challenge of trying to find someone. Like that's part of the entire loop is like that's like what we do, is hunt people down to pirate.
Yeah.
And so like when you were spotted at Bezdek, we were paying attention to the orientation of Bezdek in relation to all the other moons, and we're like, well, the only other place that you could go to if you're going to mine anywhere else would be Aberdeen. And when we didn't see you orientate towards Aberdeen, and we saw you orientate in a random direction, we're like, all right, well, you must be staying here on aerial. Where's the 2 closest OM markers? Went to those, started flying down, and the guys who went to OM1 spotted your pings.
Yeah.
So that's how we found
because you can see them so far away, right? So it's
it's nuts how far away that you can see them. And it's one of those things where it's like it feels a bit like cheating at one point, but at the same time it's one of those things where it's like you kind of need to be looking in the right place to find it as well. It's not like you can sit 500 kilometers away from the moon and just be looking at the entire thing and spot a ping from that far away.
Yeah.
It's like you got to be looking in the right direction. But yeah, like when we finally found you, like got the entire group to, move into position, and we were going to wait. Normally, the way that we normally operate when we're going after rock miners is 2 to 3 stops, and then we'll move in. But yeah, Reza kind of threw a spanner in the works, so we had to move in when we did.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it was a really cool experience for us too. Like it put a lot of us on edge when that M2 showed up, and we're like, all right, this is going to be a pretty big fight for us now, especially if we have to take that M2 down.
Yeah,
I think this is one of those things.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we'll probably have to roll with something like that in the future to try and stay alive as long as possible. But I will say this before we continue is we're going to try to wrap it up here in the next couple minutes. So
that's fine. That's fine.
It's lunchtime. I'm hungry.
That's okay. It's like 2:30 in the morning here, so. So State of Star Citizen, I pretty much talked that to death in regards to like how we view it. Like to us, it's still it's a game in development, and piracy is pretty much one of those things that it's fun to explore into, and it's the thing that we want to do, and we're just going to keep trying to push forward with it, regardless if the community or the devs like it or not.
Yeah.
in regards to like what I don't like about Star Citizen, I guess it's like how the priorities shift so frequently in regards to what CIG is focusing on per
Each quarter, it feels like even, yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like one quarter they've got, everything lined up and it's looking good, and then they go, oh shit, we can't hit that deadline, and then they just push it, and then they push it again, and we end up with salvaging where, like 3 years later we're still waiting on it. I'd like to think that, there's a method to their madness. I do software development as well, so I kind of understand the processes that they've got to go through in terms of, like coming up with those features, project management as well. So scoping them out further along into, into the future, and then priorities having to shift based on, the desires of a business model or, a manager or something like that. In, like the position that we're in, like, I don't think, any sort of game development project has gone for this long where it's been this open to the community. But I will always say this when it comes to Star Citizen, is that there's always been progress to some degree in terms of the way that the game works. Like from when we had 3.0 all the way till we have now. So we're looking at like 13 patches. Like we literally had one planet, 3 moons plus a little planetoid. Landing zones, outposts, and all that sort of stuff. And we'll lucky if we were hitting 20 frames a second, and you got into combat, you'd start dipping into the single digits at times. We've now got 4 planets, however many moons it is now, I've lost count. All the locations that are within that area, all the stations and all of that, and we're still sitting at that 20 frames a second where it dips down into the single digits when you get into combat and stuff like that. But we've got so much more space there. Now what we need to CIG to just be doing is like filling it with stuff for us to do there. So like I'm looking forward to a lot of the
they literally
some of
won't
the content that they've got coming up.
Just to stop you, they literally won't, because then the frame rate would be in the single digits again. But yeah, sorry, continue.
Yeah,
remember like hundreds of caves? There are not hundreds of caves.
Yeah, it would be amazing if they had done just the enlarged caves so that rocks could drive into them. Like we were coming up with strategies and everything for the new driving caves for rock miners and stuff like that. And we're like, all right, we're just going to follow them in, and we'll take our own ground vehicles, and coming up with how we're going to handle that situation.
And then it
just
never happened.
With that in mind, yeah, it's like you pretty much drive in and then you walk the rest. It's like, well, yeah. Yeah, man. Like, it's Star Citizen. It's definitely one of those things where it's like, I understand the whole mentality behind what a lot of people sit there and go, it's a at times it's shit, but you just keep coming back to it. And it's like, I can say now, like a lot of the guys in my org say this quite regularly. It's like, if it wasn't for like how we do piracy now, they wouldn't be playing Star Citizen. They'd be looking at other games. So at the end of the day, I'd say that sometimes when it comes to playing this game, you just got to seek out your game loop as best as you can and make the best of it.
Yeah, I tried to be like a mining org. We really tried, and I couldn't get people behind our seeking out tactic. Piracy is, I think the pain that you cause other people also helps, right? Is like you work together, you outsmart someone, but you also get to see them mauled in chat after about it, and that probably helps a little bit too, right? Where if you're going the cargo hauling or mining route, or even like bounty hunting or whatever, I guess bounty hunting you could, all you see is your UEC number go up, and it really brings no value to the game that you just played.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'm not that concerned in regards to...
I think when you do the piracy and you're interacting with somebody that isn't like, they didn't go out there to interact with you necessarily, I think you end up with a unique experience that nobody else can get really at the moment.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where like I 100% agree with that. Like, just we don't know what's going to happen really. Like we go out there prepared to do our thing, and we're kind of waiting. You know, like we want to see what you're going to do when we go to pirate you. You know, like you might fight back, you may give up, you may like call in all your friends, and we end up in a big space battle or whatever. Like we really don't know. But at the end of the day, like our goal is always to make sure, like we're just trying to do our game loop. So at the end, like we in one way, like getting the prize and converting it into credits helps us, like measure our level of success. But we never base it on, how much we made from the hit. We base it on if we completed it or not, and if we got, interrupted. So for us, like, yeah, as I said, it's like we're always playing. At times, it feels like we're playing 6 months ahead. Like that whole, I remember watching you going, trying to build up that initiative there, where you're trying to, get your scouts out there looking for the nodes, dropping the boxes, having you guys, going out there mining, having your transport ships. I thought that was cool. I'm like, yes, somebody's finally taking the initiative, and we're going to start seeing that happening. But as I've went through the mental, gymnastics of like the payoff, it's like
it's not worth it.
At the end of the day, you're still only making the, you're making the numbers bigger, and that's really about it.
Yeah. And in the end, you're splitting numbers that you could have made more money playing solo by yourself. But it was more of the experience playing together. But people just got bored of it after a while. And I think, Letty, let's leave it here. And I think that's kind of where the state of the game is for me, is that you gotta seek out your own gameplay. And in a lot of cases, it's extremely difficult to do. And it's even more difficult if what you're seeking out requires others to buy in. Right? And I think
100%.
Like, how big is your org without, like, I don't know if you want to share your numbers or whatever. But, like, the guys that you normally play with, is it a fairly small group that is, like, pretty committed to... That would be my guess. If I was to guess, I would guess that you had, like, 5 or 10 dudes that were all, like, down. And when you find a target, like, I'll log in and play.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where, like, we're spread out across 3 time zones. So we have, like, we cover all the server regions. We I think last count we were sitting around 80 members. Active members per night, fluctuates between our events. US time zone, sometimes they've got close to 20 guys on, and they'll break up into smaller groups of like 5 to 6 and, spread themselves out between different servers. And they'll make competitions out of, how many targets they can find. EU guys, almost a similar situation. It depends on the night. Oceanics, it's pretty much, small, tight-knit crew, but we all kind of like intermingle as well across all the different time zones. So we have, like, we're a fairly active org, and, even when we're not doing piracy, we're all still talking in our gilded server and all that sort of stuff. And, like talking about piracy, trying to work out, like how we can, take down targets. Like the current M2 is probably one of the most difficult ships to be able to disable at the moment. And that's in its stock configuration. So we're trying to adjust our composition to be able to deal with that, working out how we can synergize our group together. And people are going out there doing experiments, grouping up and trying to work that stuff out. So once again, like, it's that, because we're like seeking out our own gameplay, like we're able to explore into the game's mechanics to make our game work. We're kind of like fortunate in that sort of mindset that Star Citizen still feels fresh to us at times, whereas for professions like mining and cargo hauling, it's I can understand where you guys come from, where it's like
it's dead.
Kind of water of it.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. But all right, dude, I think we'll probably leave it there. So thank you for one of the best experiences I've ever had in the game, and I'm looking forward to the video coming out. Please link it to me when it's up, okay? And I'll link it in the description of the video and everywhere, because it was cool.
No worries, mate. Thanks for having me.
Anytime, dude. I appreciate it. All right, so that was Aegis Letty. I had a great time today. I think the chair is really comfortable. I really enjoyed it. So once again, thank you to Olsen from Monster Tech. 5% off at Monster Tech. I think it's using code Mike. It should pop up over here. But but yeah, I had a really good time. A different, unique Answer the Call. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We obviously wouldn't do these things again necessarily because it was like a unique and different situation. And I really wanted to do Olsen the solid that he does me. It's not really hashtag ad, guys. Like, I don't make any money off of any of these things. I just think Olsen, the guy who runs Monster Tech, is like the sweetest and coolest dude in the world. And he really is a huge Star Citizen fan and does this stuff and makes these really high quality things for sim players and Star Citizen fans and all that stuff. And yeah, like, I don't think his margins are super high either. I think he just like really enjoys doing this. It's a couple guys, and the products are really high build quality. I have their mounts and everything. I'm really a big fan of it. Yeah, oh yeah, code Mike for 5% off. There it is. But yeah, thank you everybody for watching. I really appreciate it, and I guess we'll see you next time on Answer the Call, where it'll look normal. It'll be the normal Answer the Call again. Hopefully we get some interesting topics to discuss. I think it was a pretty dead week as far as Star Citizen went yet again, and we'll have to see. But thank you for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys next week.